When I, during the spring semester, I recorded meetings, almost every meeting, and I ended up posting them to YouTube. And when I went back and I reviewed them, I noticed that you really don't see anybody but me. I mean, occasionally you see a little, somebody off in the corner or whatever. But I think the bottom line is that we, that you want to be aware, at least, that I'm recording this, and that, if there's something you don't want to appear on the internet, or, you don't, if there's something that you wouldn't want to have recorded, well, at least you're aware that we're recording right now. And then when I am done, I'll upload this recording to D2L, or upload it to YouTube, or both, or whatever, and I will figure that out as we go along. So again, I have to admit that that despite having taught a number of classes virtually, I am not an expert on virtual presentation. I have taught Bio 156 for many years, and have taught summer school Bio 156 for many years, but this is the very first time I've ever taught it virtually. And you know what? I'm just part of a big group of people who, biology instructors, and I'm sure lots of other instructors who have very little experience with virtual teaching, and will and are just kind of trying to do their best so that we can have regular classes, have classes, and allow people to progress in their career plans. So anyway, I am crossing my fingers and hoping that we actually may have what they call hybrid classes in the fall. That's the plan now. I mean, right this minute, the plan is that there will be hybrid classes in the fall, and hybrid classes means that there will be online portions of it, and then there'll be actually in-class portions of it. Most people who are enrolled in Bio 156 are here because they're allied health professionals. They are starting on a career in the allied health sciences. Now, that's not always true. I mean, there are occasionally people who decide to take Bio 156 as a 4-credit-hour lab science class. Other people take it because it's part of a different kind of career path. Like, for example, social work allows people to take Bio 156, or encourages people to take Bio 156 to fulfill sort of their basic human biology component of their coursework. But most of the people who are here, and I'm assuming, again, most of the people who are listening to me now, are people who are embarking on a career in the allied health sciences that includes nursing, respiratory therapy, dental technologies, could be massage therapy, vet tech, and radiology. So those kinds of allied health career track. And most people who are taking Bio 156 do it because this is the first semester of a three-semester anatomy and physiology sequence, really. Sometimes I wish they had just named it 201, 202, 203, but actually it's 156, 201, 202. So 156 is Intro to Human Biology. 201 is Human Anatomy and Physiology 1. 202 is Human Anatomy and Physiology 2. And so anyway, there's a 3-course sequence that starts with Bio 156. And so it's my job in Bio 156 to present you with information that will help you be successful in Bio 201 and Bio 202. And that includes a bunch of different topics that are introductory topics, etc. And we're going to start talking about all of that stuff today for sure. But anyway, so far I see that there are 21 people here, which is great. I think there were 26 people enrolled in the class, and so it's not impossible that people will continue to come into the class. Those people who never show up for today's class, that's the reason why I'm recording it, and I can post the recording so people can listen to me. Anyway, that's the bottom line. So again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody being here today. As I said, never have I ever met a class virtually starting on day one. I've done it halfway through the semester, but day one is a whole new thing for me. And I'm going to admit it, it's odd. I kind of feel like one of those comedians who that is used to having an audience and doesn't have an audience in the same format. I mean, I'm used to being in a classroom and wandering around and pointing at things and looking people in the eye and interacting a little bit. And so this is a little bit odd for me. And honestly, it might be that this is the first virtual course you've ever taken. And if it's a little odd to you, take it from me. I totally and completely understand. But I mean, we're really here to do a job. That job is to complete Bio 156 so that you can enroll in Bio 201. I mean, for almost everybody who's here, that's their goal. Now, I know there are people who have different career paths than that, but that is the number one reason that people are generally sitting in Bio 156 is they want to be able to progress from Bio 156 to Bio 201, and ultimately from 201 to 202, and from 202 to 205. 205 is the micro class. So Bio 205 is microbiology. And well, of course, once people have completed all those prerequisites, then they usually enroll in a particular allied health program. Now, vet tech people, there's always vet tech people in Bio 156. They take Bio 156 as sort of their introduction to cell and molecular biology, and then they go straight, then they apply to the program over at East Campus, and they go over and they do the vet tech program there, and they do anatomy and physiology there. That has got to be at least as challenging as the anatomy and physiology classes that are here or on West Campus, right? Where a lot of people go to. The reason I say that is because certainly I think that Bio 201 is one of the most challenging classes that anybody will ever take. It's the first part of anatomy and physiology. And I know that that's challenging, but it's human anatomy and physiology. I can't imagine what it must be like to be a vet tech student and have to go over to the vet tech program and learn about the anatomy of cats and dogs and snakes and ferrets and guinea pigs and turtles. And I mean, that is a lot of anatomy and physiology to learn. If you're a vet tech student and you're going to move over to vet tech, don't be surprised if you see that one of your instructors there also has the last name Mackey. My name is Steve Mackey, and my daughter, Sarah Mackey, teaches over there at East Campus in the vet tech program. And she's actually teaching in a lab right now as we speak.
Yeah, I had her last semester.
Oh, did you really?
Uh-huh. Everyone was really scared of her, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
I understand.
I mean, I wasn't, but some people were.
Why is she scary? I mean, is it...
I don't think she was scary. I think it was just the fact that because it was the vet tech assistant class that we had, and I guess she usually doesn't teach that. Mm-hmm. So she was just like going through it, just, streamlining through it, and I think that threw some people off.
a lot of material.
Yeah.
To cover. A lot of material to cover. Well, again, she generally doesn't, well, again, I know that she teaches various things over there, some classes that sound very complicated to me. But you know what is well, she just told me this the other day that kind of blew me away. I was visiting her and my granddaughter, and she has two cats. One is named Pippin, and one is named Gordon. Pippin is an orange tabby, and Gordon is a black cat. And She told me that they had taken them over to school, sedated them, and the students were practicing doing, needle insertion, venipuncture on them, and they seemed fine to me when I looked at them. I've known these cats for a long time, but I just thought to myself, wow, would I bring my cats over to vet tech class and let people poke them and prod them and sedate them and stuff? And I think probably I wouldn't. I mean, those cats are some amazing cats. And here's sort of an amazing side story. The new textbook for Bio 156, which I may or may not use in the fall, it has one of those cats on the cover. We arranged to get one of those lab cats that hangs out in the classroom, and that cat is going to be on the cover of the new textbook. Every textbook for Bio 156 for the last 15 years has had a cat on the front of it. It's had cheetahs and bobcats and jaguars, and I've always wanted a domesticated cat to be on it. And so now Pippin the lab cat will be on it. So I don't know. At the very least, if you get a chance to take a look at that book, you may recognize that cat. So anyway,
he's really cute.
Go ahead, say it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said he deserves to be there. He's very cute.
Yeah. So you've seen Pippin?
I've seen him over video call. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, our family's kind of a cat family. I mean, we've got a lot of cats, and anyway, I thought it was amazing after all these years to finally get a cat on the front cover, a domesticated cat on the front cover, and not just any domesticated cat. Here's a domesticated cat that goes to class and allows itself to be sedated and poked and prodded with needles. And then it sits there in the classroom. This is a picture of it sitting on the lab table and proctoring an exam, I think, or something like that. Anyway, well, the bottom line is that we're here today. I still see 21 people, and that's fine. I mean, I think that the actual enrollment in the class is something like 26 people, and that makes me a little nervous, but you know what? This is technical and tricky, and again, that's a good reason for me to record this first meeting at least, so that we can I can make it available to somebody who just couldn't figure out how to get on the link today. Anyway, so again, thanks everybody for being here. We're going to do the best job that we can. My ultimate goal is to, make sure that people have the opportunity to experience the Bio 156 material, to work with the Bio 156 material, and to get a grade that allows them to move into 201 next semester. Embedded in the syllabus, which is something we're going to look at soon, is a note that says that in order to move from Bio 156 to 201, excuse me, let me rephrase that. It's been a while since I've been talking like this at great length on the computer, but in order to enroll for Bio 201, you need to have at least a C in Bio 156. And what that means is that if you don't have at least a C in Bio 156, you won't be allowed to enroll in 201. Now, there's two comments I'd like to make about that. One comment is that you really want to get better than a C in Bio 156 if you can. The truth is that admission into things like the nursing program these days, C's don't really cut it. I'm not saying you couldn't get into the nursing program with C, but I think that these days they're being picky about allowing people in the nursing program, and they're looking at grades more than they ever have in the past. So you really want to do better than a C in here. And then the other thing I wanted to say was that as we move through, well, no, that's not true. They're already enrolling. Well, you know what? I hate to even say this, but I'm pretty sure they're already enrolling people in the fall classes. I feel stupid saying that. Pretty sure they are. But if I'm wrong, maybe somebody will tell me and go, no, that's not true. But I think they're enrolling people in the fall classes. Anyway, once you're enrolled in Bio 156, you can go ahead and enroll in Bio 201. If at the end of the semester you don't have at least a C, the computer will jump in and it will drop you. But I'm assuming that if you're enrolled in Bio 156 today, you could go into the fall schedule and get yourself into a Bio 201 class. And as I said earlier, they are planning now to have a mixture of online, virtual, and what they're calling hybrid classes. I'm scheduled to teach hybrid classes in the fall, which means that I will spend some time in a lab, and I expect to be heavily PPE'd, meaning I know already that they're going to ask us to wear face masks and face shields and gloves and lab coats and those kinds of things, all for protective purposes. Students will do that too. But people will be spending part of the time looking at lectures online, and maybe even interactive things like this, but then they will also be in a lab classroom. So as far as I know, there's actually 3 ways you could take Bio 201 in the fall. And that includes fully online, it includes virtual, and it includes what they're calling hybrid classes, which means you spend some time actually in a lab. And it's a serious decision to make about whether what kind of class experience you want to have. And there's, I think, trade-offs involved. One of the trade-offs is that if it was me, I'd want to be in a hybrid class and be in lab, because at least at West Campus, the materials that we have there that are so accessible and so useful, including living materials. I mean, there's a morgue on West Campus, and therefore they have cadavers that they use in the classroom there. I'd want to be, if I could, I'd want to be able to experience that. But of course, the trade-off is that we really don't know what's going to be going on with the COVID-19 virus in August, September, October, November. We don't have any idea what that's going to be like. And so there's a trade-off there. I actually don't have a clue what it's going to be like to be trying to teach a class with a mask on and a face shield and all that kind of stuff. I mean, when you stand in front of a class and you're, talking out loud to a class, I don't know what that's going to be like if you wear a mask. I wear a mask a lot when I go out, but I don't know what that's going to be like in terms of lecturing. Oh, believe me, I'll do it. I'll figure out how to do it. So anyway, I am getting way ahead of myself, and am I surprised? No, not really. Again, it's that kind of day where it's sort of get to know you day, etc. And so what I would like to do today is first, let me make sure I can do this right, is first I would like to show you a document that I have set up here, okay? And I expect, let's see. All right, can everybody see this document? I mean,
I can.
You can? Good. If one person can see it, then probably everybody can see it. So let me just be clear. What you should be seeing right now is a big blue sheet that says, it's just the first page in a PowerPoint that says SSB2020 Day 1, July 1. So happy July, happy Day 1. Of course, the class is called Bio 156, Human Biology for Allied Health. Maybe I should have put the CRN number there, but you know what? The bottom line is, if you're registered for a Bio 156 class that meets in summer session B from 1:15 to 5:35, then you're in the right place. So welcome to Bio 156. And then there's a list of things here that I'd like to talk about, including something called the student information sheet. I'd like to talk about the syllabus and schedule. Of course, what else do you do on day one? You talk about the syllabus and schedule. I'd like to talk about something called thought questions. And these thought questions, A and O through W, are part of a sheet of thought questions that I have posted for you that will help you stay on track. And I'm going to show you what these thought questions look like. And then I'd like to begin working our way through some PowerPoint material here, including a PowerPoint called What is Biology? Why isn't there a question mark there? Anyway, what is biology PowerPoint? And just for the record, the PPT is my shorthand for PowerPoint. And I think it's also computer shorthand for PowerPoint. And then one of the main tasks we're going to do today is we're just going to start talking about metric measuring and look at a metric measuring PowerPoint. And I don't know whether we will get very far today, but I'd like to at least show you this metric measuring lab. That is something we want to work on over the next couple days. And so that's the plan for today. Now, you know what? I'm going to recommend that when you're sitting out there and you're listening, when we do this every day, that you write down the most important critical things from this. And certainly one of the most critical things right here is this. This thought questions A, comma, and O through W is information that you want to have written down so that you can reference it later. I mean, in the future, there certainly may be other things on this list that I will point out and say, write these down. But the bottom line is that at least for today, the thing that I think is most critical on this list is for you to note what thought questions are over here. I don't know why. No, I didn't want that. To drag this. Come on. Drag this over here somehow. Gosh. What is my computer? All right. I guess I drag it this way. This is the way to do it, maybe. Yay. Sorry. People, did I admit to you that I am not an expert at the whole virtual thing? At least it's up here now. Right? And that's good. So over here, take a look. Again, I'm just going to leave this up for a minute. And believe me, it's going to be my job today to sort of get you oriented with this basic information so that you understand what all these things mean. Like, what's the student information sheet? What's the syllabus and schedule? What are the thought questions? I mean, I'm going to do my best to acquaint you with all of those. Now, look, I've been, again, teaching a long time. I've seen really successful Bio 156 students, and I've seen students that were less successful. I think one thing that you absolutely want to do as a Bio 156 student sitting in one of my classes is you want to take notes. So I'm hoping that everybody has a little notebook, someplace to, make notes, put a date on them and put down important key concepts. Now, in one respect, we're kind of lucky because I don't really have a chalkboard or a whiteboard to write on here. And so I've tried to incorporate all the essential information into PowerPoints. Oh, I better be careful. Most of the essential information, I have put it into PowerPoints, and those PowerPoints are going to be completely available to you. They are already posted in 2 different places, and part of my goal today is to walk you through those places so that you can find those PowerPoints and look at them, print them out if you want to, view them any way you wanted. And so, so the bottom line is that I'm going to, those things are going to be made available to you. And I have tried to streamline those PowerPoints in such a way that they really represent some of the essential material in the class. And they are certainly things you will want to study as you prepare for quizzes and exams. All right. So, I mean, I've probably saved you some writer's cramp because I have, put a lot of the essential information into PowerPoints, and I will continue to do that and then make those available so that you can watch them anytime that you want to. Okay, so I'm gonna actually reduce this for now, and I'm gonna go to this document called the Student Information Sheet first. Okay, now, again, I have to say it, 2 or 3 different things. One is, we will take a break at some point in time. I mean, honestly, I cannot sit for 4 hours in a chair. I'm not a young man anymore, and I have some lower back problems. So I have to get up at least every, let's say, hour and 15 minutes-ish, and just stretch a little, that's all. So we're going to have to do that. And honestly, I'm sure that that's good for you. I mean, that's good for you too. I'm not going to insist that we all meet in some group meet and do jumping jacks or something like that. But I do think we need to get up, move around, stretch, go to the restroom, whatever, at some periodic, with some periodicity, meaning, every hour and 15 minutes-ish or so, okay? Secondly is when I view the summer virtual class, I tend to think that we will always meet at 1:15, always. We'll meet at 1:15, and and I will be ready to answer questions, present material, etc. I mean, I don't see how there's any way to avoid that. But then, I mean, this is a 4-hour class, and in the normal 4-hour class that they would hold, a face-to-face seat time class at Pima, I would hope nobody would lecture for 4 hours. And believe me, I could lecture for 4 hours, but it'd probably be not a good idea, right? Everybody would be asleep. Sometimes I see people who are listening to me, and they're laying in bed, and I don't want to put people to sleep. But so it's absolutely, I think, going to be part of the general structure of this class that at some point in time, I'm going to say, this is lab time. And in that lab time, we will cease meeting face-to-face like this. And you will be using that in-class time to work on the lab materials that I've presented, okay? Like, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Tomorrow, no matter what, at 3:45, maybe sooner, I'm going to stop the face-to-face meeting, and I'm going to put the responsibility on you to use the remaining class time to work on lab stuff. Now, if you decide you're not going to do that because you just need to take a break and you're going to work on the lab stuff later, well, there's no way I can prevent you from doing that, and there's no way I'd really want to prevent you from doing that. I mean, you're an adult. But tomorrow especially is one of those days where I personally, and this is a crazy excuse, but I made this doctor's appointment 6 months ago before I even knew I'd be teaching this class, and it's at 4:15, and so it's a perfect time for me to end class, my face-to-face portion of the class, by 3:45, so I can turn you loose on the labs. But that, I think, is going to be a general pattern. We're not going to necessarily meet face-to-face from 1:15 to 5:35 every day, because part of a normal class like this is lab time, and that lab time is going to be individual lab work time. That probably we're going to do it at the end of the class. Oh, is it possible At some point in time, we'll stop the class, and then I'll ask you to do lab work, and then we come back an hour later and look at what people have done. Sure, that's a possibility. But at least tomorrow at 3:45, I'm going to say, I'm done, we're done. You need to work on the lab, and I'm going to show you the lab too. The labs are, of course, posted in multiple places. First lab work that we're going to do has to do with the metric system, and the reason is simple. In the allied health sciences, the metric system is king. The nursing program has told me, look, one of the most important things, I mean, they've got a long list, but one of the most important things people need to know before they come into these advanced nursing classes is they need to know the metric system backwards and forwards. And the answer is simple. Why do we need to know the metric system backwards and forwards? Because if you make a mistake in the metric system, you could kill one of your patients. That's bad. Yeah, that's really bad. If I make a mistake in the metric system as a college instructor, well, the worst case scenario could be that, you know, I look foolish, and I'm used to looking foolish. It's no big deal. But I am never going to kill anybody. And in fact, I even have the luxury, if I make a mistake, somebody could say to me, well, Steve, you made a mistake. And I could go, oh, I meant to make that mistake just to see if you were paying attention. But the bottom line is that the metric system is essential. If you don't know the metric system well, you not only are going to look kind of stupid because you don't know the metric system when you're working in a clinical setting, but you're also at risk of giving the wrong dosages to people and accidentally over or underdosing them. And so anyway, so that's where we're going to go. That's going to be one of the major topics for today. But first, let me show you a document. And this document is called the Student Information Sheet. Now, I'll show you where to find this document in a minute. But this document is an opportunity for me to get to know more about you, and you know, and get sort of a more comprehensive picture. And so it's pretty straightforward. What I need you to do is to fill in this student information sheet as soon as you can. I mean, hopefully today, and then get it back to me as quickly as possible. Now, that's tricky. It'd be great if I could just hand you this piece of paper in the classroom, but it can't. So I'm going to show you how to access it, and I'm going to suggest some ways for you to get it back to me. So anyway, I'm assuming everybody can see this because I'm still the presenter. And let me just say something that's critical for me to say in this. Look, there can be glitches in the Google Meet system. In the Google Meet system, sometimes bizarre things happen. Actually, you know, it's not really that unusual for unusual things to happen. I mean, they can happen. You know, I apologize for bringing this up, but somebody doesn't have their microphone off, and I feel like I can hear their TV in the background. Is it possible? No? Is it my TV? No, I don't have a TV on.
I think it's the reverb from your mic being
maybe
read by your, from your speakers being read by your mic.
Maybe. Huh. Well, that's interesting. How could I fix that? I mean, I can sort of hear it. You're right. And it's like a little bit of an echo. Now, I'm not sure how to fix that.
The easiest way is to mess with your volume, because if your speaker volume is being registered on your mic, turning it down might help.
Okay, well, let's give that a try. Against, I pushed the wrong button there. Okay, let's see if I can make that happen. I think I can. Because maybe I've got the microphone the speaker up too high. Let's just drop it down a little bit. See if that makes a difference. Can everybody still hear me well? I guess you've got a speaker adjustment on your computer and your end too. Good. All right, good. Thank you. Hopefully that'll make a difference. As I said, I guess that's right. I was hearing me from behind. And I really appreciate everybody who's chiming in on the chat and letting me know, letting me know whether things seem right or not. So let's just go back to the original whole glitch thing. I do not know why, but sometimes I get knocked off as the presenter. And it could be me. It could be that I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to do and I accidentally kick myself off as a presenter. If that happens, you're going to see me talking, but you're not going to see anything that I'm trying to show you. So let's just say I'm in the middle of a PowerPoint and you saw a PowerPoint, or I'm talking as if I'm reading a PowerPoint and you don't see the PowerPoint. Well, then please, as soon as it occurs to you that something isn't right, please let me know. Either open your mic and tell me or put it on the chat line and tell me. But the bottom line is that this is one thing I had to learn when I was doing this before, was that sometimes I get kicked off as presenter and I need to go back. Now, here's another possibility. It's happened to me before. Suddenly the meeting ends. And again, I'm going to admit that it could be me that pushes the wrong button and ends the meeting. All I have to do is, touch the wrong thing and the meeting will end. If we are in the beginning of class, well, let's just say if we are 95% done with the class at that point in time, then chances are I won't initiate a new meeting. But if we're not, if we're right in the middle of some important information and suddenly the meeting ends, probably because I screwed something up, then I'm going to immediately send out a new email with a new link if I can't get back into the meeting. Okay? So, again, if we're about 95%, I mean, if it's 5 o'clock and we're kind of winding things down anyway and we crash, well, then chances are I won't initiate a new meeting. I'll just see you the next day at 1:15. But if we're, have a significant amount of class time left to go, then I'm going to have to just initiate a new meeting by sending you a new email. All right? So just so you know, these glitches can happen. They're totally normal. You're probably used to having to deal with that kind of stuff because you've probably spent part of last semester in a virtual meeting. And so bottom line is we just have to pick it up and make sure and start again, because in summer school, these days are valuable. We have 20 meetings and, they're expecting us to have, about 4 hours a day of activities. Now, some of that's going to be face-to-face stuff like we're doing right now. And some of it is going to be labs where we won't be face-to-face, but you'll be working on the lab during the normal class time. Or you want to take an hour-long break and then work on the lab? Well, I'm not going to come to your house and knock on the door and ask you what you're doing. Of course I'm not. Anyway, all right, so thanks for helping me with the reverb, and we'll see if that works. I'm going to go back to the student information sheet here. And let me just scroll down in the student information sheet. There's no surprises here, really, I don't think. Notice it says by 156, Steve Mackey, that's me, I'm Steve Mackey. Again, like I said, I've been teaching by 156 a long time. I moved to Tucson in 1977 to study marine biology, because at that time, the U of A had a pretty well-known marine biology class. It was entirely based in the Gulf of California, Rocky Point and Guaymas and Cabo San Lucas and all that. And so I came here to study marine science. And the very first thing they did was give me a job as a teacher. And I was kind of surprised. I knew they were going to give me a job. I just didn't know what kind of job it was going to be. I thought they might make me a janitor, or I thought they might make me a researcher assistant or something, but no, they said, oh, Steve, you're going to be a teacher. And actually, that turned out to be great for me, because one of the things I learned way back then was that I'd rather be a teacher than I would be a researcher. Not that I have anything against research. I like doing research. I still do research, but for some reason, I felt most comfortable inside of a classroom. So anyway, that was a very lucky thing for me when I came in. Now, since then, I've worked for Pima College for 30 years, so I did not end up teaching very much marine biology. I ended up teaching a lot of cell and molecular biology. Of course, this class does meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 1:15 to 5:35. But I'm actually expecting that there'll be times when I will end class earlier, the face-to-face meeting, and what we will do then is I will turn it over to you to work on these at-home labs. And honestly, it's kind of hard to know exactly how long some of these at-home labs will take, and I'm going to admit the truth to you. The reason is that some of these labs we are in the midst of writing right now to make them useful to us in this class. I mean, we've got the first couple labs pretty well worked up, but we're fine-tuning the other labs, and so I don't really know. I don't have enough experience to know how long some of these labs are going to take and how some of these labs will work out for you. So of course, I want and need your feedback on those things. So all right, here, of course, you're going to give me your name. You're going to give me your nickname if you have a nickname that you'd like me to try and remember. And then I'm asking you down here for your best telephone and your best email. And look, I'm not going to abuse this information, but if I need to get a hold of you, I'm certainly not going to call you to try and get invited to your July 4th party. I'm going to, if I need to get a hold of you, it will be for some serious Pima Community College business. And so I'm asking you to do me a favor and give me the best way to contact you by telephone and email. I mean, I think I'm just like everybody. I have two different phones, and one I answer all the time and one I answer sporadically at best. And I have multiple different emails. I probably have a Hotmail account that's 20 years old, but no, I've never checked it in 19 years. So if your best email is the Pima email that that I have already emailed you, that'd be great. My email is kind of easy to remember. When we talk about the syllabus, I'll point it out to you. And then down here, I'm asking you to initial that you've received a copy of the course syllabus and schedule. And I remember the good old days when I would hand you one, but that doesn't happen now. I'm going to show you where it's posted so you can study it in great detail and then feel confident to check this box that says you've received a copy of the syllabus and schedule. Then down here, I'm basically just asking you about your career plans and your major, your career objective, your long-term educational plans, your long-term career plans, some of your history with biology and chemistry. And look, there's many people who take Bio 156 who have never taken a biology class, or the last biology class they took was, in high school. And it's been a long time since they've been in high school, or a chemistry class, same exact story. So this document is a document I'd like to get back from you ASAP. And so let me show you how to access it, okay? So are there any questions on this document that I'm showing you right now? Pretty straightforward, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I think the best question was probably, or the most common question is, where do I get this, Steve? So let me show you how to get to it, okay? And if I pause too long, it's because it was just pointed out to me again the other day that when you ask for questions, you actually have to stop talking so that people can answer the questions, which is a new concept to me. The other day I read that you should pause for 17 seconds. It's the 17-second rule. It says that if you want answers to questions, you should pause and wait as long as 17 seconds. And I'm telling you, 17 seconds seems like a long time to me. I mean, it's like, it's long enough that in a classroom, it makes lots of people uncomfortable, and somebody eventually asks a question. Could be about their grandma, but at least they ask a question. I don't know if I'll ever get to the 17 seconds, but I am going to do my best. Good, thank you. Edward, I appreciate that question, and I will explain that. So look, let's do this, because I want to show you how to access it first, and then we'll talk about how you can get it to me. And well, let me just say one thing. One of the easiest ways to get things to me, I think, is to get them to me by email. I have a pretty recognizable email address. It's smacky@pima.edu. Smacky, SMACKIE @pima.edu. Oh, this is a great opportunity. Here's something that it was suggested I try. We'll see if it works. I wrote this way too big. So this is something I learned it between now and the last time. Can people read this? It's my awful writing.
It's
Smacky, SMACK. It's
Yeah.
backwards? Oh, well, that's crazy. I wonder why. That doesn't make any
I
sense,
think
does
it's
it?
mirrored, I guess. Mirrored, not mirrored. I don't
It
know.
is mirrored. Wow, that's interesting to know. Why would it be backwards? I guess. Huh. All right. Well, that's a bummer. But there it is. Thank you. Smacky@pima.edu. Maybe that's what I just need to do. But you know what? It's funny. I never realized that everything is backwards, because it doesn't. It does look backwards to me when I see it. So I don't know. That's crazy. All right, that's it. I think you should get another instructor. He didn't realize things would be backwards. But no, well, I'm going to figure this out, because I feel like it would be useful to be able to write some things like that, especially when we're talking about metric measuring, because that's going to be somewhat tricky. So we'll figure that out. I will figure this out one way or another. Yeah, I kind of figured. I think I now know. I've already got a plan on how to make this work. I just have to figure it out a little bit. Okay, so it's going to be very confusing to me. All right, so anyway, let's go over to. I want to go to the home page. Now, what we're looking at right here is we're looking at MyPima. And actually, no, we're looking at MyPima, the MyPima homepage. And this thing, I see. I didn't ask for acknowledgement on this. I keep getting this. I sent this email out the other day, and I keep getting it. I've gotten it like 5 times. I don't know if other people have gotten that same thing. I thought that it would be, you would get it one time, and then it would be easier to see. All right, so now where am I? I'm going to shrink this if I can. Don't need this to be as big as it is, right? But here's what it looks like when you log onto MyPima. Wow, can everybody see this?
I can.
You can. So where am I? Oh, I'm right here. Wow, okay, well, that's fine. It's been a little while since I've done this kind of presentation. I apologize. I'm going to get rid of my inbox. I don't need that. I'm going to go over here to the main MyPima page. Now, I'm sort of assuming that most people know how to do this, but let's just look at the login page for MyPima. Okay. again, I have to ask, can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
Good, thank you. So once you're here, you're on the main page for MyPima. Of course, this page will allow you to do to register for classes. It'll allow you to do all kinds of things. But when you go to log into MyPima, you go up here to MyPima. And sorry, it logged me in instantly. I did not mean it to do that, but I was hoping I could go to the actual login page. But it didn't let me. So let's hope that you can go to that. And once you go to that, MyPima, it's going to give you a place to plug in your username and password. And once you plug in your username and password, then it will take you to this page. Now, I've got kind of one foot in two different worlds. One is what I call the MyPima world, and one is called the D2L world. So let me just show you the MyPima world access for a minute, because here's what that looks like. You're going to go over here to My Courses and click on that, and then let it load. Okay, and once you've loaded that, you're going to go down to something that looks like this. Here we are, Intro Biology, Allied Health, Summer 2020, and I'm going to click on that. And then here's the an introduction that I sent out both on MyPima and on email. Sorry, and on D2L. Now, once I'm on this page, this is critical. You're going to go over here to where it says Drive and click on Drive, and that's going to take you to this folder, Bio 156, Summer Session B 2020. Was everybody able to see that?
Yeah.
Looks like I'm still presenting. Good. Okay. So this folder is going to have everything in it that I'm going to show you. So when I click on this folder, it's going to show you a list of documents. Now, one of the things I like about MyPima is that it allows me to number documents, and it puts them in order. And I have yet to figure out how to make this happen on D2L, but on MyPima, it works this way. Now, if you look at this page, you're going to notice right away that the very first document is the student information sheet. Okay? And we open the student information sheet. And why it's showing me the syllabus at the same time, I don't know, but it's because it's a Microsoft Word document. Now, once you've opened this document, you can go ahead and fill it in. It looks weird, but it can be filled in. Right, and name I want to be called is, I guess I just soon be called Steve, etc., etc. You can fill this document in, and then you can even save this document, to your computer. And once you've filled it in, so that's one way to deal with it, save it to your computer, and then you can send it to me. Uh-oh, did I just auto-save that? Probably did. I didn't want to, but you can, you could save it to your computer, and you can send it to me as an attachment on an email. Remember my email, smacky@pima.edu. That is easy to remember. My daughter isn't Smacky, even though her name is Sarah. She's SL Mackey. It's Smacky, or Steve Mackey @pima.edu. Now, what I might suggest is that you, that you save this document and then fill it in. And once it's been filled in, that you send it to me as an attachment on an email. And so you could literally, there's multiple ways to do that, of course. You could just save it as a document that's been filled in. If you wanted to, you could print the document out, fill it in, and take a picture of it with your cell phone and send it to me as an email, smacky@pima.edu. So that's certainly one way to get it to me. Okay. Now, can I also mention that you look on this list, here's document number 002, syllabus and schedule. There's the thought questions that I'm going to come to and talk about. There's metric measuring, a PowerPoint we'll start looking at today. Metric prefixes, look, what is biology, science and the scientific method? This lab is a lab. Metric measuring at home, that's what this is. Document number 7 is this lab. So there's a bunch of things already posted here for you to look at. Okay? Now, that's one way to access these documents. The second way to access these documents and labs and things that I'm giving to you is by going to D2L. All right, so you get to your MyPima homepage, not your MyPima class page. Then you go over here to D2L. And once you're here on D2L, you probably have a sweet little picture like this of a nice forest. And it says CRN 30521 by 156 IN. Okay, so here we go. And there again is my welcome to Bio 156 in summer school. If you haven't read this already, I hope you will read it. I was, sent it out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, hoping people would read it. And so go ahead and read it. There's some important information in here that I said that I put up here as early as I can, in which I said, I do not plan to use the textbook for the summer class. And if you have not purchased it yet, then please don't buy it. Save the $148. If you've already purchased it, I'm sure you'll be able to return it. I'll tell you why. My bottom line philosophy is this. If you're not going to use a textbook enough to justify spending $148 on it, which seems like a huge amount of money to me, then I don't want you to buy it. I will be presenting lots and lots of material that will supplant a textbook, and so it isn't necessary for you to buy this textbook that's $148. It's also true of the lab manual. Even though this is listed as sort of a generic thing for Bio 156, the bottom line is that this lab manual that's available for sale now is designed for in-class labs. So it's not going to be very useful to us. I'm going to be providing you with all the labs free of charge. You won't have to buy the lab manual. The lab manual is not very expensive, but still, it is not appropriate. It's not been modified for, use in a virtual class. So, anyway, here we go. So please go ahead and read this. Now, once you're on D2L like this, then you can go over here to content. You can still hear myself a little bit, especially when I get loud. Go over here to content, and then there's a table of contents right here. Okay, and when you're on that table of contents, you can scroll down the table of contents until you find student information sheet. Click on it. Then it's right here. And you can open it up. And there it is. No, it doesn't look any different at all from the other one. Now, again, here, I would be tempted, in order to fill it in, because this isn't fill-inable, to download it. It appeared as a download here. Now I'm opening it up, and sure enough, there it is. Once you've downloaded it and you enable editing, you can fill it in. You know, I think the best thing to do, obviously, if it was me, I would print this out and I would fill it in by hand. And then I would take a picture of it with my phone or scan it in using my printer and then send it to me via email, smacky@pima.edu. Okay. Now, I think this is pretty straightforward. Now, here's the thing. I know that when we go back here, let's go to, I'm going all the way back to content, okay? And under assessments here, there's this assignments category, and there's only one assignment in here now, which is the student information sheet, and you have access. See, this is what's kind of crazy, and I apologize for this, but I cannot see what this looks like on your screen. Okay, I cannot look, I cannot tell. I can only view this through the instructor's screen. As crazy as that sounds, I can't really see what it looks like to you. So what I'm sort of hoping is that if you go to this D2L area and you pull up the student information sheet, it's going to allow you to fill it in and then allow you to submit it to me. But I can't see that. So it may be that that's not true.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
I think if you click on your name on D2L on the top right corner, it gives you the option to
view it as a student?
Yes.
On my name, upper right-hand corner.
Just gotta scroll up on the page.
Yeah. Then it'll let me see what it looks like to you?
Yes. Pretty sure.
View as teaching assistant. Okay. Hey. See, you learn something new every day. Ah. No, this is the reason I like being a teacher. Because I get to learn something new every day. So let's then look at the assignment, and then I'll be able to see it the way you see it. You know, I asked this question, and people are like, well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I've never met, it's people who, okay. So there it is. There's the student information sheet, which is, this is how you should see it. Okay, and it's, did it open it up here? That's messing with me. Hold on.
Another way to find things that I found really useful is just under content, like there's just a search bar. So you can just type in keywords. So if somebody's having trouble finding it, just go to the, you know, your contents and then type in like student and this sheet will pop up.
Oh, great. So if we go, here's the attachment, which it wants me to open it, right? Then I fill it in. Okay, so once I've filled this assignment in, then the question really is, how do I submit it? Oh, I see. Okay, good.
So yeah, you have to actually add a file.
So the file, though,
so you just, all you would do is just click on add file, pick the file you want to put in. So that's the attachments. It's showing you like what we're gonna need to submit. So it'll open up the Word document, but then like you've got to just like turn in one as well. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, here it is showing up, but oops, don't want thought questions up yet. Okay, I've selected that file. All right, look, I don't want to play with this right now because I am going to figure this out. Okay, and I apologize that I am, so I did try to selected file, but I'll figure this out. Here's the thing. In the interim, if when you look at it, you are able to see, uh-oh, I don't want to do that. All right, I'm going to go back to home here. Well, believe me, I'm going to do my best to figure out exactly how this works. But in the interim, the document is, you can open the document, you can download the document, you can fill it in. Ideally, if you can fill it in, save it to your computer, and then send it to me as an attachment, that would be wonderful. But if you want to print it out and fill it in, then you can just take a picture with your phone or scan it with your scanner and send it to me as an email attachment, smacky@pima.edu. When I was doing the virtual classwork in the spring, I was doing the virtual classwork. I did a lot of assignments. Here we go. Go back and view it as not as teaching assistant, but as, oh my gosh. So can somebody tell me how to get out of being it as teaching assistant? Because now that I'm here, let's see. I want to view it. Oh, maybe that's it. There we go. Thankfully, I figured that out. Okay, so for sure, one of the things that you can absolutely do is you can get access to this document in more than one way. Okay, I don't know why it's doing this to me now, but we'll figure this out. Error, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're back here. I am going to go next. And again, sorry for some of these glitches, but the place I want to go next is I want to go to the content here. And I want to go to the syllabus and schedule. I'm going to click on it. And there it is. This is the syllabus and schedule. This is kind of the formal way I'm supposed to use it to, to view it or whatever. It's the way that it gets posted, and there it is. Now, for what it's worth, if I don't get up and stretch right now, I won't be able to walk in a few hours. So, can we take a break now?
Yeah.
I feel like we should take a 10-minute break. Okay? So it's 2:36. We're going to be back here at 2:46. Okay? Everybody knows we're going to take a 10-minute break. All right, good. I'll put on some elevator music in the background. All right, 10-minute break.
At JCPenney, we know you miss us, and we miss you. So, what if we said we had a store that's open all day, every day? We do. It's jcp.com or the JCPenney app. Need a swimsuit? We've got them. Something new and cute for summer? Look no further. Exclusive JCPenney brands, plus your favorite national brands? Yes and yes. Check our site for the latest coupons, and when you spend $49 or more, standard shipping is free. JCPenney. Exclusions apply. See jcp.com for details.
Summer is open, and Lowe's is home for the 4th of July. We're making backyards everywhere the best place to be this holiday, and we're starting from the ground up. Get 5 bags of premium mulch for $10. Fire up the grill and top those burgers with some homegrown toppings. Select Bonnie vegetables and herbs are 3 for $10. This year, we're home for the 4th. Visit Lowe's and make it the best it can be. Valid through 7/8 in store only while supplies last. Selection varies by location. U.S. only, excluding Alaska and Hawaii.
Even if I don't try, I keep chasing my dreams till the day I die. And those are times they seem so hard, I still try. You stand forward and just stand back. One step forward and just stand back. Steady climbing, gonna find my way. Because there is no denying, gotta seize the day. So I keep chasing my dreams till the day I fly. There are times I get
All right, is everybody back? I jogged around the block just to stretch out a little bit and move around. I mean, I suppose I could set my computer up so I'm standing the whole time, but I'm not sure that would really work either. I mean, either way, I would be kind of stressed out by it. So we'll take another break in another hour and 15 minutes, and for sure, you know, so that we can get up and move around. I don't know how else to do it. If I was in a classroom, I'd be wandering around back and forth and all that, but we'll take another break. I'm just going to double check, and it looks like I'm still presenting and I'm recording and all that kind of stuff. So here's where I wanted to go next is I wanted to go to not the student information sheet. I think we've looked at that about 10 times. So, you know, like I said before, one of the easiest ways to get me stuff that you want to turn into me, maybe I will be able to fine-tune this process, and I'm hoping I will be able to fine-tune the process, is for you to simply download a document, fill it in, take a picture of it, and send it to me. Of course, another possibility might be that if you can shrink the document small enough, you could take a screenshot of it and then save that and send that to me as an attachment, and that might work as long as I can enlarge it enough to actually see the document well. I mean, I did this when we started doing the virtual stuff in the spring. I got a lot of documents and other submissions by email, and that was when I had 4 classes and over 100 students. So this should be nothing. I mean, I shouldn't have any trouble processing that kind of stuff in email this way, but I would rather figure out how to get it so that you can send me the assignment to me in D2L in the assignment Dropbox or whatever. And if you want to try doing that and I'll access it, then maybe I can figure it out myself. I'm going to be working on it during this entire time. So we'll get it all put together. That student information sheet, if you would please get it to me ASAP, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so then this document that's up here now is, of course, the, like mandatory syllabus document, and I already lost it. Where did it go? Figure where this stuff actually goes sometimes, but okay, so here's the syllabus for the class, and I'm going to boom through it. It will there's just stuff I feel like I have to make you aware of today, day one. The very first thing I'm gonna ask for next time we meet, which is tomorrow at 1:15, is I'm gonna ask if there are questions about the syllabus. And so if you would please, as homework for tonight, if you would please go through the syllabus and carefully read it. However, that's not going to prevent me from walking my way through it right now. So again, this is Bio 156 IN, and just for the record, the IN stands for integrated, which means that it's an integrated lecture lab class, which means that we don't do lecture in one room and do lab in another room. Though I kind of feel like these days we might do everything in the same room. I mean, except go to the bathroom maybe. So, I mean, we could have one room where we do it all. But that's what the IN stands for, and it means Integrated Lecture Lab. A lot of this basic information that's up here is pretty straightforward. If you call this phone number 206-603-4, it rings on West Campus. And I'm not only not on West Campus, I'm not even allowed to go to West Campus. I've been in, ever since spring break, I've been in my office for 1/2 hour. I had to be escorted there, and I was allowed 1/2 hour in my office to grab some materials and run. Pima College is very, very careful about who they let on campus now, though they are letting some people back on campus. But anyway, I can access this. I can access your phone messages on my phone that way, not a problem. And then here it is again, important for communicating with me, smacky@pima.edu. I think that's pretty easy to remember, smacky. And again, documents that are assignments, one way to do those is to turn them in by email, and I'd be happy to accept them by email. And in some respects, that for some people, that's the simplest way to deal with this kind of stuff. Okay, so there it is, smacky@pima.edu. And with the student information sheet, barring any other thing, if you want to just print the copy out and fill it in and scan, and then take a picture with your phone and send it to me as an attachment, that would be wonderful. And then I can save that attachment and have that information in my file here. Instructor website, well, I don't have my personal website, but I use the MyPima website as a, in multiple ways, some of which I've already showed you. And then as far as my office, it's on West Campus. So if you would like to meet with me to discuss material or whatever, then you should just send me an email and we'll try to figure out a time to have a one-on-one Google meeting. Or if there's questions that you would like me to answer on email, I'd be so happy to answer them. I will be checking my email multiple times a day. All right, so that's one way to get anything that you want to me. Down here, I guess you can read this, but I will tell you that just where it says course description here, this class is designed as an introduction to 201, 202, and 205. So that means that it means that the material that's in Bio 156 is material that is going to be useful to you in 201, 202, and 205. You know, there was a time when they didn't teach Bio 156, and they had just abysmal pass rates in 201 and 202. Those are very difficult classes, more difficult than this one. And they eventually decided, look, we need another class that will cover things like the metric system, scientific measurement, chemistry of life, cell anatomy and physiology, cell reproduction, all those kinds of things. If we just had a class that would teach all that basic stuff, it would free us up to focus on the more advanced material in Bio 201. And I have to tell you that, again, like I said before, Bio 201 is not, it's a very difficult class, one of the most difficult classes that you could enroll in, I think. And one of the reasons that Bio 201 is so difficult, really, is because it requires so much memorization. So much crazy memorization. There's just a huge amount of memorization in it. Let me give you an example. In the first 3 weeks of Bio 201, they will ask you to memorize the names of every bone in the body. Now, for humans, that's 206 bones. But that's not it, right? For every bone, you need to know its location in the body, what other bones it articulates with. You have to know the names of the different parts of the bone. And these bones have bumps and fissures and tubercles and fossas, and oh my gosh, there's probably, I'm going to just say that there's 5 things you need to know about every one of those 206 bones. So you can do the math. 5 times 206 is 1,030. You have to memorize 1,030 factoids about bones in the first 3 weeks of Bio 201. So that is very challenging for some people. In fact, I will give you some rote memorization tasks, meaning some things you just need to memorize. And you will, I think really you should sort of thank me and go, Steve, thank you for that rote memorization task. Because if you're not a good rote memorizer, then you need to figure out how to be a good one. How to memorize things with no, not with any real logic behind them. That's what the word rote means. It's just like staring at a deck of cards and memorizing the sequence of cards in the deck. You just have to store that information in your brain somehow. And, when I was in college, if you were not a good rote memorizer, you were certainly at a disadvantage. But there was not much you could really do about it, because if you went to the library and you looked up a book on memorization, I assure you it would already be checked out. These days, we are so lucky because we have things like Google. And if you go to Google and you Google ways to memorize, you will get 1,000 hits, and there are documents there and tutorials there that will help you learn how to memorize things faster and better. And honestly, if you're going into any one of these health-related fields, there's going to be an expectation that you can memorize things really well. So, I don't know. Anyway, I would say that that you should think about that as a strategy for student success. Now, down here, right at the very top, it says Information Bio 156 IN is the first semester of the Anatomy and Physiology course made up of Bio 156 IN, 201 IN, and 202 IN. Course was created for students preparing for a career in the allied health sciences and has been designed with the input of the higher level courses it serves, meaning the nursing program, radiology program. And then in bold here, it says a final grade of C or better is required in Bio 156IN for entry into Bio 201IN. Now, I said this earlier. If you're registered in Bio 156 now, today, which I'm assuming you are if you're listening to my voice, then you can register in 201 today, because they, once you're registered in Bio 156, you can register in the next class. If, on the other hand, you somehow don't end up with a C in this class, then you will, the computer will kick you out. Now, look, I'm going to tell you that the way this class is structured, because of the virtual environment, I think people are likely to get better grades under the virtual environmental condition than they might have gotten if in an in-class setting, to be honest with you. And so that's great. Let's hope everybody gets a great grade and is able to move into Bio 201 next, okay? But if you are thinking of registering for Bio 201 in the fall, I would definitely try and register now, because classes in Bio 201 fill up fast, and you will have to make the decision about what format you're going to participate in it, whether you're going to participate in an online format, a virtual format, or a face-to-face, or excuse me, a hybrid format that has a face-to-face component. And if, you know, you are worried about, you know, being in a classroom where there's other students and, you know, possible virus there, then you probably don't want to enroll for a hybrid class. Me personally, I am looking forward to teaching a hybrid class, and I plan to be very, very careful when I'm in that, because I actually take care of my 87-year-old mother, and she is, you know, has respiratory conditions already. And so believe me, I really, really want to keep her and my family and my cats safe. Okay. So, and I think it can be done safely. It's just going to be complicated. And for me, it probably means lecturing or explaining stuff through a mask. I was originally wearing a mask even when I did virtual stuff like this, because somebody told me that they were computer viruses. Then somebody else told me that I couldn't actually catch them from the computer, so that was nice. Okay, so let's go down. Required textbook, none. Like I said before, I don't use the textbook enough to require you to spend $148 or whatever dollars it is now. I plan to present you with plenty of material, plenty of things to read and study and look at, that you won't need a textbook. If you, for almost every topic that we cover in a basic biology class, there is great information available on Google and YouTube about these topics. So you'll hear me say it, you know, many times. If you feel like you don't understand a topic well, then I would hope the first thing you would do would be to ask me to explain it better, explain it again, because I will do my best to do that. Okay, but beyond that, we all have access to such amazing materials now. I'm jealous. When I was a basic bio student, I would have loved to have access to YouTube videos on cellular respiration or something like this, but they did not exist then. So we have access to great stuff right now. And I will, of course, recommend some of these. I will attach some of these, and you will be able to get a chance to look at them and see them that way. But beyond that, I will run some videos from YouTube, and we'll talk about those, etc. But you always have access to that stuff at your fingertips. I mean, you can watch a YouTube video on mitosis on your cell phone while you're waiting in line, right? While you are waiting in line. Someone new just joined us. Hi, John. You missed significant amount of material, but I am recording this and I will figure out how to post it. I mean, I will post it on YouTube or I will post it on D2L. One way or the other, I will figure out how to do it. Okay. Now, where was I? I was on the syllabus right here. All right, so let me just ask before I go on to the next page, any questions about this very basic information here? Right? Especially things like my email, so you can send me documents if you need to, okay? Easy to remember, Smacky, okay? Okay, so up here, again, the course location is virtual in Google Meet. Here are some important dates. Of course, we're here today. It's July 1st. If you drop this class by July 6th, you can get money back. That's what the course drop date is about. If you try to drop the course after that date, you won't get any kind of refund. The official student withdrawal date right down here is July 24th. Now, July 24th is a while from now, what, 3 weeks from now or a little more. But let me tell you what the student withdrawal date is really about, even though you probably already know. Up until midnight on July 24th, you can go on MyPima and drop yourself out of the class. You don't need my permission. You don't need my consultation. You don't need any of that, okay? You simply can go there and you can withdraw yourself from the class. And I think that will result in a W on your transcript, okay? But after that, July 25th, you cannot obtain a withdrawal. I'm sorry to say they don't allow instructors to give withdrawals after anymore. They don't allow us to give withdrawals as a final grade, which, well, it's Pima college policy, so it's what it is. So anyway, then the last day of the class is August 4th, and that's the day of the final exam, really. Now, we might have a whole class meeting that day. Excuse me, we might have a whole class meeting briefly that day, but I'm going to tell you in a few minutes that the final exam is an optional, it's cumulative and comprehensive final exam, it's optional. If we get to August 3rd and you are happy with your grade, meaning you got your A or your B or your C, you will not need or even want to take the final exam, I am sure. There's 2 exams before that, and 6 quizzes plus an additional bonus quiz. And so only people who are in a position where they want to change their grade by taking an optional final exam to increase their grade will actually take that final exam, and it'll be available to go that day. And I will even be willing to answer questions and review for the final exam that day. And then we'll make the final exam due a couple days later. Okay. So anyway, the very last day of class probably will be a short class meeting, and then the rest will be devoted to review for the final and explanation of the final for those people who are planning to take the final. Okay. Any questions about dates?
Nope.
Okay, you're going to study this, of course. I'm going to wait 17 seconds. No, I'm only kidding. All right, so down here to course learning outcomes, I'm going to let you read those. I think those will be pretty obvious. Performance objectives. Oh my gosh, you could certainly read this list, but I'm not going to. I am not going to, go through it and read it. It is worth taking a look at, but not essential on a day like today. Okay, I am going to give our first quiz next Tuesday, which means I'm going to shoot that quiz out to you. It's going to be posted on Tuesday. All right, that's where am I? I'm looking at my schedule. Tuesday the 7th, I'm going to post the brand new quiz. And on that quiz, there will be at least one question, maybe more, about the syllabus. So syllabus is something that you want to study. But can I tell you that anything that's going to be on that quiz is going to come from page 1. Okay, that's this page here, page 1. So my, email, etc., that kind of stuff. And there will be nothing at all from page 2 because there's tons of cumbersome information there. And any other questions that I have will come from, any question that I have on the quiz will come from page 1 or page 3, okay? And really, I almost always choose those questions from up here when we talk about grade determination, all right? So I want you to be aware, make a note of this. Quiz questions about the syllabus are going to come from page 1 or really the top half of page 3. So make a note. Top half of page 3, all of page 1, that's where the questions that are going to come onto the first quiz from the syllabus are going to come from. I don't want to stress anybody out by making them think, oh my gosh, look at all this. I got to memorize all this for the quiz. No, you don't. Top half of page 3, all of page 1. Okay, but let's look at the top half of page 3 because there's lots of interesting information about grades and grading and all that. So here we go. There in this class, there's a total of 400 points that can be earned. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to get exactly 400, but there's a little bit of tentativeness to anything. I mean, if we find that one of these labs just doesn't work well and it's not generating good results, and I don't decide to just give away the points free for it, then I might need to adjust this a little bit. But that would adjust the grade scale and everything else. I mean, it's I think 400 points are the number of points it will be, give or take a small number of points that might need to be subtracted or added, okay? So how do we earn those points? Well, there is one midterm exam worth 100 points, and I've tentatively scheduled that. If you would make a note of this. I've tentatively scheduled that first exam for Wednesday, July 15th. That's 2 weeks from today, that first midterm exam. And I'm actually trying to figure out exactly what that exam is going to look like, what its format is, etc. But it does say down here that the exams will consist of multiple choice, short answer, and essay questions. And that the exam will include questions related to lab activities. So the kinds of things I'm going to put on this exam are pretty straightforward kinds of stuff. Multiple choice, short answer. And a short answer question is one that you can answer in a word or two or a sentence or two at the most. And then I will also be asking you to answer some essay questions. And all of that will fall together to make this 100-point midterm exam. And believe me, as we approach that exam, I will talk it up. I will let you know what to study for that exam, etc. Okay, so I wouldn't stress out about it all now. Stress out about the most important material right now. And again, there will be a quiz next Tuesday. And as we approach that quiz, I will tell you more about it too. All right, then there is an end term exam. And that is actually scheduled right now for, right now I've got it tentatively scheduled for the 29th. which would be what? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. You can look at my calendar. It should have been easy to calculate that. 4 weeks from now is this end term exam. All right. Now, both of these exams are mandatory exams. They are not cumulative and comprehensive. Okay. But then let's say you get a score on one of these first 2 exams that is lower than you wish. Well, there is a way to adjust that score, and that is by taking the comprehensive final exam. All right, it's also worth 100 points, and here's the bottom line. Let's just say that on the first exam, you got 61 points out of 100, a D, and you're not happy with that. Well, if you get more than 61 points on the comprehensive final, you will be able to increase your score to the score of the final. Let's just say on the first exam you got 61 points. I hope that's not true. And on the comprehensive final exam that's optional, you got 89 points. Well, then this exam would convert from 61 to 89. Okay? So it's designed to replace one of the lower exams with a cumulative and comprehensive score. So think about that. If it's not clear, let me know. All right, then there are 6 quizzes worth 10 points each. And these 6 quizzes are, I'm going to tell you these 6 quizzes are going to be mostly based on the thought questions, and I'm going to show you the thought questions before we leave today, beyond a shadow of a doubt. All right, so 6 quizzes, 10 points each. Now, on these quizzes, it's possible there could be multiple choice. There could be fill in the blank. There could be true, false. There certainly will be short answer. And I'm going to tell you the other thing is that I will have 6 quizzes here on the record, but I actually plan to give 7 quizzes. And if you take that 7th quiz, if you take all 7 quizzes and you get 10 points on every quiz, you can keep every point you earn. So I'm not going to like drop the lowest score or anything like that. It's too complicated for me. I am going to simply let you keep any point you earn on quizzes. I'm going to let you keep those points. So again, even though it says there's going to be 6 quizzes times 10 points each, off the record, there's going to be 7 quizzes times 10 points each, and that 7th quiz is a bonus quiz that anybody can take, and anybody can earn the additional points. And you know what that means is, I suppose, is that you could not do as well as you wanted to on a couple of quizzes, and then make up those points by getting those bonus points. Okay. You know, if I can, I'm thinking that I might try to do this somehow. If I can squeeze in an additional bonus quiz, I'll do it. But when you look at the schedule, it's pretty complicated. But if I can squeeze in an additional one, but I'm promising that, believe me, I'm going to give at least 1 additional bonus quiz, no doubt about it. All right.
Are they timed?
They're timed in this sense. Okay. They are timed in that I'm going to make them available on one day, and they're going to be due back the following day. And so, honestly, you're going to have plenty of time to work on them. Okay? They're not like a 10-minute timed quiz that I've seen, those kind of quizzes. They'll be due. I will let you know exactly when they're due, but you'll have a minimum of 24 hours to work on them. Okay? Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Good. And the reason is I want to distinguish between a quiz that you have to take and it's, you have 20 minutes to complete the quiz. No. This is going to be a quiz in which you have plenty of time to work on it. Okay? Oh, and I might as well tell you right now, I am thinking that these quizzes are going to be open note, open book quizzes. So you can reference any materials you want on these quizzes, except another person in the class. So open note, open book means that, yeah, sure, you can consult your notes, you can consult the PowerPoints, you can consult the labs. What you cannot consult, and I know we're working on an honor system here, is you can't consult another student and discuss it and all that, okay? And, you know, honestly, I can sometimes when I grade quizzes, I can go, wait a minute, it looks to me like these two quizzes, every word is identical. And if that was to happen, I might ask you, hey, how is it that your quiz and this other person's quiz are identical? I mean, even the mistakes are completely identical, or the misspellings are identical. So the bottom line is, and I know everybody's going to be upset about this, is that these are going to be open note, open book quizzes. And I expect people to do pretty well on them as a result. Okay? But you will have at least 24 hours to complete them and then return them to me. And if I can toggle them into D2L as an assignment that way, that'd be great. Otherwise, you will just have to answer the quiz questions in an email and send it, or you'll have to print out a copy of the quiz and write on it and send it to me as an attachment, or as an attachment of some kind. I mean, I've done this with hundreds of students and it worked out fine. It probably wasn't totally ideal, but it worked out fine. All right, and lastly, there's lab activity points. I've got a number of labs planned, and I mean, these labs, what can I say about virtual labs? They're not ideal labs by any means. I don't want to be dishonest and pretend, oh, yeah, they're just the same as if you're in a classroom. No, they're not. These are going to be labs you're going to have to do at home, and you're going to have to take pictures and send me information that shows me that you've completed the lab and all that. I have labs to fill in, etc. But they're not ideal. And, you know, we'll do a virtual lab on microscopes, but it's not going to be the same as being in the classroom looking through a microscope. And how else can I put it? I wish it wasn't true. But nevertheless, we do need to do labs, and we've designed some labs. And now the tests, Edward, I'm working on that. I'm actually hoping for the tests not to be open note, open book. But if I can't figure out exactly how to make them set up so that they're timed well and everything, then it isn't impossible that they would be open note, open book too, okay? I know that's disappointing to people. Everybody, well, I'm only kidding, actually. If you have open note, open book quizzes, they're less stressful, of course, and people tend to do better on them. And that's, that may just be the way that it is, okay? So we're going to play it by ear. All right, again, so there's the total points. It should all add up to 400 points. And then down here, there's, you know, a grade scale that applies to the 400 points. No, I will, of course, post the grades for everything I post on D2L because it is, well, it's required by PIMA, and I think that's the only way for you to access your grades safely and easily and confidentially these ways. Now, here's the thing about quizzes, though. I know everybody's like, wow, this is great. Open note, open book quiz, and Steve's giving a bonus quiz, but I will set a deadline. And honestly, if it's due at 12 noon on such and such a date, you're going to need to get it to me before 12 noon, because honestly, if it comes in at 12:05, then you're going to get a 0 on it. And I don't like doing that, but I'm going to give you plenty of time to complete the quiz. And I'm going to ask you to get it back to me within the time frame. I will be very clear about when it's due. But if again, let's just say that quiz number 1 is due on, I posted on Tuesday and it's due Wednesday at noon. If you send it to me at 12:15 on Wednesday, I'm not going to accept it. And so, and that means you'll get a 0 on it. Now, then you might think, well, you know what? I give up. No, I hope you wouldn't think that. You may be unhappy about that, which I would be too, but you will also remember that I'm going to give a bonus quiz later in the semester, and that you could replace, you could essentially get those points as bonus points later. Okay. So that's just really clear, because I'll tell you why I'm going to be so picky about this. Because again, let's say that quiz number 1, I post it before class or at the end of class on Tuesday the 7th, and it's due back by noon on Wednesday the 8th. I will then post a key to the quiz at 12:15. I will post a key so that you can see a printed key to the quiz. Now, once I've posted the key, I have a hard time justifying mentally. I have a hard time justifying allowing people to turn the quiz in once I've posted the key. I think that's logical. Now, those keys are going to be really useful too. Those are going to be really helpful for you studying for the exam. And so those quiz keys are going to be useful. In those quiz keys, I will probably not only post the answers to the quiz, I may actually post some bonus answers there too, some information that could be useful in an upcoming quiz. I do that to lure people to look at the quiz keys, even if they're not so inclined to do it, okay? And you know what? I'm one of these people that's just obsessed with logistics at some level. And so I will continue to remind you about these things. Okay. The rest of the syllabus, which of course is worth looking at, includes things like the withdrawal policy, and I want to remind you that instructors can't. So here's the thing, is if you are doing so poorly, by July 24th, we will have completed a lot of the class by then. I mean, we will have completed, let me just think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days out of 20. So 70% of the class will be over. If you're not doing well enough and you're worried about getting a bad grade, you need to withdraw yourself by midnight on July 24th, okay? Because after that, I have no option but to give you the grade you earn, okay? And so there's a risk in staying in the class after that. However, I do also have to tell you that that what will happen after that is a bonus quiz and the cumulative and comprehensive optional final exam. So, it's one of those tricky decisions you have to make. If you, for most people who are taking Bio 156, if they withdraw, then that just means they're going to have to take it again. If somebody's taking Bio 156 and they get a D and they don't really want a D, well, then they're going to take it again and replace that D with a higher grade. So most people who are in Bio 156, they kind of don't have any choice but to complete Bio 156. And I have to tell you that you kind of have to keep your eyes on the goal when you're doing a career like an allied health career, which takes a while to do, a while to be educated in, etc. And you have to keep your eyes on the goal. If you didn't get a good enough grade in 156 the first time around, could be lots of reasons why. Could be me, that you just don't resonate with me as an instructor. It could be the virtualness of the course. It could be COVID-19, whatever. But you got to keep your eyes on the goal. I mean, listen, don't tell anybody this. But when I was in graduate school at the U, my committee decided I needed to take a 3-semester engineering calculus course. And I really don't know why, because it was the biggest waste of time in my life. However, I had to take a 3-semester engineering calculus class, okay? And I'm telling you, it was horrible. And here's the thing. It took me 9 semesters to pass it. 9. Nevertheless, I did complete my degree. And now I've got my favorite job, a college professor. So I just didn't get discouraged. I just said, okay. Most of the time I withdrew from the classes because I was so far behind. I still have nightmares about this. Anyway, so you got to keep your eyes on the prize. And so when it comes right down to that July 24th deadline, you realize that whatever grade you have there is not necessarily your final grade. And if your final grade is less than you wish or lower than you wish it was, you still are going to end up repeating the class in order to continue in your career. And I know I've had people who have repeated by 156 more than once. Almost any class I teach, I often have people who are in my class for the second time around. Anyway, so just to mention that enough to be legally covered, right? Incompletes, well, you know, Pima College incomplete policy, they made a little bit of revisions to it because of COVID after spring break, but now they're going to insist on our normal policy, which is you can't really apply for an incomplete unless you've only missed a small portion of the class and you had a C at the time and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now that doesn't mean I haven't given incomplete grades. I have. It's just an individual thing. Every student, I'm just reading right here, every student is expected to contribute to a positive learning environment in the virtual classroom where everyone is entitled to be secure and respected. Students found cheating, which will receive a 0 on exam or quiz. Students are encouraged to work collaboratively together on labs. I mean, if you can work together on labs, that'd be great. It's going to be difficult. But your work on quizzes and tests must be diligently individual, okay? Any communication with another student during the duration of an exam or quiz is considered cheating, okay? Now, look. Open note, open book quizzes. I want to see your work on those and read your writing. Okay. The other stuff that's down here in etiquette, you know, this is something they've asked us to add in, and I think it's good. You know, we will discuss things at times, and you may disagree with someone's opinion. We're not going to talk about politics here. We're going to talk about biology. And so we want to, you know, we want to be a collegial, respectful group, okay? For sure. Below that, there's a little link to the student code of conduct if you want to see it, and I double-checked it to make sure it's right. Here's a link to some resources about advising and code of conduct, complaint processes. Here's a link to student policies in case you need those. Here's my suggestions for success in studying biology, and just some ideas that you might want to consider, and that this is not going to be on the quiz, of course. And then on the next page is the class schedule. And, you know, I posted here, quiz 1 posted due Thursday noon, huh? Well, that's me giving you quite a bit of time to work on it. So at least now for the very first quiz, we'll stick with that. Maybe if I get the quiz back fast enough from people, I won't need to give that wide of a window. But anyway, you can see on this schedule, we're in week number 1. Actually, these shouldn't be week number. It should say day number. But here's day 1, day 2. Believe it or not, I actually expect to get to some of this material today. I certainly will show you this metric PowerPoint, the What is Biology PowerPoint. We'll start looking at the metric PowerPoint. And then the lab activity on metric measuring is actually going to bleed over into here. So I do not expect people to start and complete the metric measuring lab today, though I will show it to you. And you could start working on it as soon as you want to. It's kind of a complicated lab. and we will be working on it and discussing it. And it's probably going to last more than this one day, okay? There's a key word up here on the schedule. It says subject to revision, which means, you know what, some of these things are very optimistic. But there's your basic schedule all the way down to the final exam on the last official day of class. And, oh, yeah. Okay. So I would really appreciate it. I mean, in fact, it's homework, right? I would really appreciate it if you would look at the syllabus and schedule between now and the next time that we meet, so that you can ask me any questions that you have about it. So there it is, student information sheet, syllabus and schedule. Ooh, thought questions. Oh, I can't wait to show you my famous thought questions. But first, before I leave the syllabus, are there any questions I can answer about it?
No, I think everything's pretty clear.
That was 17 seconds. Actually, maybe I did it too fast, but I think that was about 17 seconds. All right, good. You are, however, going to study this between today and tomorrow. That's important. All right, so let me show you this. And honestly, in some respects, this document is going to be, I think, very useful to you. It is called Some Bio 156 Thought Questions number 1. And it's number 1 because I will give you more than this thought question sheet. There is a lot of material represented on this thought question sheet. Now, I have to tell you that for years, I did something that many teachers do unconsciously, I guess, because it doesn't make any sense. But I've been a student a long time and sat through many lectures and many classes, and I've been a teacher a long time and given many classes and many lectures, etc. And I got to admit something to you that's going to sound so crazy. I used to think somehow that students could read my mind. For some reason, I would think they could read my mind, meaning if I was standing in front of a class and I was talking up material, I would have these questions swirling around in my brain, and I would think to myself, I'm going to put that question on the quiz, because anybody who's listening to me now certainly knows that that's important material, right? And I know that sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, but actually it's kind of an academic tradition where instructors sit in front of students, they show PowerPoints, they do lectures, they do labs, but the whole time they're teaching, they think, I'm going to put that on the quiz. That's so important. I'm going to put it on the quiz. All the questions are swirling around in your brain. And we as instructors sometimes think if we raise our voice a little bit, if we drop our voice, if we gesticulate a bunch, that students will know for a fact that I am going to put that information on the quiz. But again, even as I say this, I realize how stupid it sounds. Students can't read my mind. Honestly, I'm happy students can't read my mind. That could be embarrassing. But I thought a few years ago, well, why don't I start taking those questions out of my brain and put them on paper so that people actually know what some of the most essential questions in the class are. And they also know what some of the questions are going to be on the quizzes and exams. And I just want to be up front and as transparent about it as possible. I don't want you to be trying to read my mind. So that's what these thought questions are. And what you can see here is we've actually got, there's 2 pages, lots of questions. Now, you know, I may not actually use every one of these questions. I say that in every class I teach, whether it's face-to-face in class, I say, look, I may not use some of these questions, but I will use most of the questions, all right? I will use them in one way or another, as a way to review material, as a way to review material, as a way to help you focus on some of the most important concepts. I will actually end up giving you 3 of these. This is just the first one. So you'll see how rapidly we go through some of this material before we, before we are in a position where we, you know, see this material appear, or before I give you the next group of questions for sure. I apologize if there are some questions on here that I will actually never use. If you find a question on here and you just think, oh, I really wish Steve would answer that one, well, then I would be happy to go ahead and answer it. Now, one of the things I've done is I've posted this as a document so that one thing you could do if you wanted to was you could actually spread these questions out and fill in the answers if you wanted. That way you could write answers to the questions, okay? But I'm going to tell you straightforwardly, I'm never going to collect this particular page. I'm not going to. This is reference for you. But I will tell you this. If you wanted to answer some of these questions and ask me about them in class, or if you wanted to answer some of these questions and send the questions to me by email, I would be happy to try and give you some feedback as quickly as I can about them, okay? So there's nothing kind of, I just want to be clear, there's nothing sort of sacred about these questions. You can ask me directly about these questions in class. You could, we could discuss these questions in class. This represents some of the most essential material. Now, where could you find answers about this stuff? Well, I'm going to tell you that under the current circumstances, you're going to be able to find answers about them in multiple ways. One way would be to be in class, listening to my lectures and taking notes. The other way would be to consult the PowerPoints that I'm creating and making available to you, okay? Consult the PowerPoints. Because I'm going to be including the answers to lots of these questions in the PowerPoints, which you have, okay? So you could ask me about them in class. You could send me an email with possible answers that I could send you back corrections and information. You can find the answers in the PowerPoints, in other documents I post, in the labs that you will be reading and working on. If a question, you know, comes up and it is not answered to your satisfaction, then I really hope you will ask me about it. Okay, so that's what thought questions are. And for what it's worth, I, just because of, you know, how lazy I am, I guess, is when I actually post our daily PowerPoint like this, I'm going to write thought questions A and 0 through W, but I might just as easily write, instead of thought questions, I might write TQ, okay? Because that's what TQ stands for, thought questions. All right. So when you see that, acronym TQ it means thought question. So let's take a look. A and 0 through W, O through W. Sorry, not 0, but O through W. Okay, thought questions. Where are we? Did I close the thought questions? I did. Darn it. Okay, give me a second. I will find them. They're right here. They're not right here. Okay. Okay, so here we are back to the thought questions. Now, the thought questions I listed for today are way ambitious. Sorry. A, what is the definition of biology? Well, we are going to definitely look at that today. And then I jumped all the way down past the science and stuff into metric system stuff. Thought question, oh, what is a milliliter? What is a microgram? What is a terameter? This is all metric system stuff, O through W. And you know what? I've been very, very optimistic today. We actually won't get to all of these thought questions today. However, the answers to practically every one of these thought questions is in the metric system PowerPoint that I posted. All right, so you could actually, you know, when you're, if you're thinking about these thought questions, then you could go ahead and look at them and think about them now. You know, and I often think of the thought questions that I post as kind of homework, which is say, look, I'm going to post these thought questions, and as soon as you're done with class, see if you can answer the thought questions that I posted. And, you know, sit down someplace quiet and look at the thought questions and write out an answer to them to the best of your ability. Now, most days, I will try to be pretty accurate about what thought questions I cover so that somebody doesn't, you know, lose their mind trying to find the answer to a thought question that wasn't even mentioned. But actually, I mean, the thing is that everything from O through W is actually in that PowerPoint on the metric system, metric measuring PowerPoint. So we'll probably start looking at that PowerPoint today. And when we're, you know, when we're done, well, we'll stop wherever we stop and we'll pick it up tomorrow. But certainly, if somebody was so motivated as to kind of go through and watch the rest of the PowerPoint, I would be astonished if you weren't able to find the answers to every question in that PowerPoint. Okay, all right. So thought questions. This is the first thought question sheet. I'm going to give you 3 thought question sheets. Honestly, I'm going to tell you something. I bump into my students all the time, often after they've left Bio 156 and they're in Bio 201 or 202. And I ask them this question. I say, look, how's 201? And they'll go, oh, it is so hard. I go, really? Why is it so hard? And they'll say this: no thought questions. They don't give us thought questions. They expect us to just memorize everything in the book, memorize everything here. Well, got to tell you, that seems crazy to me because there's so much biology to know. You hired me to help you focus on the essential elements of biology so that you can do your career, okay? That's my job. My job isn't to tell you, look, read chapter 1 through 7 and be prepared to ask any question about it. I have to be honest with you, I've never been a big fan of that kind of stuff. I worked for a textbook company for years, writing chapters in textbooks. And I was astonished how often they insisted that I sort of plump a chapter up, You know, I'd write a complete chapter. It had everything in it they requested. It was 8 pages long, and they would say, no, Steve, look, this needs to be 12 pages long. So would you plump it up, put in a bunch of other stuff in there, just fluff it up if you would. Instead of having 2 examples, put 4 examples. And it kind of bugged me because I thought, look, you know, I've written this chapter so it has essential information in it. Now, by fluffing it up, I'm just making more stuff for people to memorize, because there are so many instructors that say, look, you ask an instructor, what's on exam 2? And they go, chapter 3 through 12. And you go, well, what in chapter 3 through 12? They go, everything, every little detail in chapters 3 through 12. Now tell me, I mean, think of, you know that you've been in classes like this, where you were expected to memorize everything in 5 chapters for an exam. And honestly, that seems kind of crazy to me. So I've tried to design a system where you are aware of the most essential material. And when you see the very first quiz, you are going to see thought questions on it. You're going to see some questions from the syllabus, which are not worthy of being thought questions, but you're also going to see thought questions on the first quiz for sure. And if you've thought about them and looked at them, you're going to be happy that you did. They're going to make it easier for you to be successful. And again, that's why I created them. You can't read my mind. So here's some of the stuff that is dribbling around in my cerebral cortex, okay, while I'm lecturing, okay? I think I can close this document now. Okay. All right, so again, I can talk forever, and so I don't want to do that. Where I want to go next, well, you know what, I better do this. Keep myself on track, right? Oh, what is biology PowerPoint? Excellent, there we go. And you know, the what is biology PowerPoint isn't going to take me very long to go through. It's not very long. And so I'm going to do it. And as soon as we're done with it, it will not take very long, I don't think. And we're going to take another break, okay? So this PowerPoint is called What is Biology? Now, look, you may have taken 5 biology classes before this. It's possible. But actually, it's pretty common in my Bio 156 class to have people who have not had a biology class in a long time. I think you can sort of skim through high school these days and not even take a bio class in some parts. Some sorts of high schools these days don't even have a dedicated biology teacher. So I think now that you are you are thinking about embarking on a health-related career, that I think you kind of want to know what is biology. Because, I'll tell you this again later, because you are training to be a biologist. That's one of the major reasons why. And when it comes right down to it, it's worth spending 10 minutes talking about what biology is. So, let's just admit this. Biology is a fundamental aspect of human reality. We are organisms. We are biological creatures. An awful lot of what we do is pure biology. And so what does it mean when you say biology is a fundamental aspect of human reality? Well, it means there are many perspectives on biology. Since humans are organisms, they are biological creatures. By the way, that word organisms means biological creatures, living things, or things that were alive. So it also means that biology can be found in most human endeavors, activities, and disciplines: psychology, sociology, mathematics, history, literature, art, and I could go on. I mean, there's a branch of math called biometry, That is the mathematical study of biological systems. I mean, of course, if you take a psychology class, you learn about biology because psychology manifests from a nervous system, which is a biological structure. In a class like sociology, you study human interactions, human relationships. That's the way organisms are relating. I mean, if you could look at almost any one of these endeavors, you could think of ways that biology intrudes into it. And the reason is simple. It's because our biology is a fundamental aspect of human reality. I mean, look, if we want to pretend that humans are metaphysical, how long can we ignore our basic biology? I mean, I know people who think, I don't want to think about my biology. I'm going to pretend I'm sort of non-biological. But if we want to pretend that humans are metaphysical, how long can we ignore our basic biology? I mean, think about it. Let's say you get up in the morning and you say, I am not going to be a biological creature today. I am sick of being a biological creature. There's plenty of problems. I mean, there's all kinds of, biological stuff we have to do. That's just kind of a problem or a pain. But we still have to do it because we're biological. So how long can we ignore our basic biology? Well, here's the thing. We usually breathe every 4.3 seconds. We breathe about 14 times a minute. Our heart contracts every 0.9 seconds. I mean, we have to breathe every 4.3 seconds. And breathing is purely biological. I mean, do we breathe for fun? Is it something we do because we just, let's suck some air in? No, we breathe for purely biological reasons. We bring air, we contract muscles to bring air into our lungs so that oxygen can move out of the air sac of our lungs into our bloodstream, and carbon dioxide can move from our bloodstream into the air sac of our lungs. Our heart contracts and beats every 0.9 seconds so that blood is constantly flowing through our lungs to gather oxygen and release carbon dioxide, and many, many other things that our blood does. So I think the answer is we can ignore our basic biology for 4.3 seconds. When I get out of the bed in the morning, if I think I'm not going to be biological, I'm going to say to myself, well, I think I'll stop being biological after I go to the bathroom. Because right now, that's a highly important biological thing. Otherwise, it's going to be painful and or embarrassing. So, bottom line is, we can see biology in lots of different realms. I mean, you see beautiful biological artwork, right? And those people who do that art, they have studied a kind of biology. It's just not exactly the same kind of biology that we study, okay? So what is the definition of biology that we use in this class? Because we use a very specific definition. And here it is. Biology is the scientific study of life and organisms. I'm going to repeat it again and underline a couple of words. Scientific study of life and organisms. I underline scientific because it is critical. The kind of biology that we do in Bio 156 involves science, the use of science and scientific method. And of course, when we talk about biology, we talk about life and what life is. And honestly, that's a pretty complicated question. What exactly is life? I'll try and work on some answers with you. But the bottom line is that we understand living things because we are one and we are surrounded by them. I mean, I have 4 cats, I have a dog. These are biological creatures too. I see biological creatures every day. Because I'm a biological creature, I have some sense about what's going on with other biological creatures. So just to note, Bio 156 is the class you're enrolled in. And the academic prefix bio is part of the STEM disciplines. So I screwed that up, huh? The academic prefix bio is part of the STEM disciplines. STEM, S-T-E-M, okay? Globally, this prefix bio has a very specific meaning no matter where you are. This bio prefix means something. So what does STEM stand for? You've probably heard of STEM. It stands for this: science. The very first letter in STEM is science. Then technology, engineering, and mathematics. But notice the first word was science. And that means that when you do biology, you use a tool called science and the scientific method. Okay? And believe me, we will spend quite a bit of time working on the scientific method, thinking about it. So here's a question: why are you studying biology? I mean, you want to be a nurse. Why are you studying biology? Well, let me show you a definition of a nurse that the nursing program gave me. A nurse is a type of biologist that specializes in the maintenance of human health and the treatment of human disease. A nurse is a type of biologist that specializes in the maintenance of human health and the treatment of human disease. Now, I want you to remember this when you are up studying late one night and you are maybe a little ticked off at me and you're thinking to yourself, why do I need to know all this biology? Why do I need to know it? I mean, a number of people who go into the nursing program at Pima, their motivation for going into the nursing program at Pima is pretty simple. It is that they have read and heard that if you complete a 2-year nursing program at Pima College, you can start working in the local health field for about $50,000 a year. $50,000. And I mean, when you're a beginning student and you think $50,000 a year, wow. And if you think further about it and you go, well, I'll have a job, it pays $50,000, it'll have great medical benefits, I'll be working in an exciting place with interesting people. That's a job I want. And the idea that you can do well financially and have a really rewarding career. I have nursing friends who work 3 12-hour shifts a week. It's counted as 40 hours. And they get a 4-day weekend every week. And they're happy about it. But the bottom line is that a nurse is a specialty. A nurse is a type of biologist that specializes in the maintenance of human health and the treatment of human disease. If you become a nurse, you will need to understand, before you become a nurse, you need to understand basic biology. Imagine if you are being rolled into the emergency room. Don't you wish and hope that the people who you deal with there understand basic human biology? I think you do. I think you really hope they do. Because the bottom line is that first you train to be a biologist and understand very basic biology, and then you become a nurse. And the same is true for other disciplines. You study basic bio, and then you specialize in a particular kind of biology. In this case, the maintenance of, not off, human health and the treatment of human disease. Well, why are you studying biology? Well, because a vet tech is a type of biologist that specializes in the maintenance of animal health and the treatment of animal disease. I noticed I didn't make that mistake there. A vet tech is a type of biologist. Oh my gosh. I mean, again, when you're a vet tech and you start to study the anatomy of animals, you're going to have to learn dog anatomy, cat anatomy, rabbit anatomy, guinea pig anatomy, ferret anatomy, snake anatomy, oh my gosh. So people who go into the vet tech program at Pima, they are training to be a biologist. They start in Bio 156, and then they go over to the vet tech program and they specialize. I mean, they continue to learn basic bio, and then they specialize in the maintenance of animal health and the treatment of animal disease. So, any questions that I can answer about this PowerPoint? You have access to it. It's posted in 2 different places. It's posted on D2L, and it's posted on my Pima in the drive for our class. And again, I want to repeat what I said. If you're up late at night and you're studying and you're going, oh my gosh, Steve, why do I have to know all this biology? I want you to remind yourself that on the very first day of class, I told you, a nurse is a type of biologist that specializes in the maintenance of animal health and maintenance of human health and the treatment of human disease. So if there's anything about this PowerPoint that's unclear, this is the shortest PowerPoint I've ever made, then I'm happy to answer questions about it right now. Otherwise, I'm going to let you think about it while we take another break, because I'm telling you, I got to get up and stretch my legs and stretch my back. We're on another 10-minute break, okay? It's 4:05. We're going to start up again at 4:15. And I'm assuming everybody is fine with that, all right? But 10-minute break.
Mobile phone, got the big flush? Get fresh tech in a flash. Do-it-yourself diaper not doing the trick? Get diapers only the double. Last minute surprise for the little Susie 6. Get gifts, groceries, and more pronto with new Walmart Express delivery. Our door to yours in 2 hours or less. Same low prices as in store. 0 markups.
Nice.
Nice and fast. So why wait? Try Walmart Express delivery. Like now. Restrictions and fees apply.
At AutoZone, we've always been there to help get you what you need when you need it, and that hasn't changed. That's why we want to let you know AutoZone stores are still open. Whether it's a quality part or a free battery test to help you stay on the road, we've got what you need. And if you do happen to need anything fast, we've got free store pickup inside the store or curbside, your choice, as well as next day delivery. Our stores are open and we're ready to help make the job easier. Get in the zone. AutoZone. Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Made by music lovers, for music lovers. This is AccuRadio.
Okay. Pretty close, huh? 10-minute break. So we're back. Can I ask again if there's any questions about the PowerPoint? Again, I think this is the shortest PowerPoint I've ever put together, but an essential PowerPoint. I want to be sure people understand what definition of biology we're using here in class. And what I mean is that we are doing the kind of biology that uses the scientific method in order to answer the questions that we have about biology. And we are going to talk in great length about the scientific method. I have a PowerPoint that I think I've already posted up there on the scientific method that we'll be going through, but we're not going to start there with that PowerPoint today, but because science is something we absolutely need to talk about and think about and do a lab about. Same as we need to talk about the metric system before that even, because when it comes right down to it, the scientists of the planet Earth, whether they're biologists or geologists or physicists or astrophysicists or ecologists or, oh my gosh, all the different ologies, they use the metric system as an important measuring tool. Okay, so the next PowerPoint that I'm going to go to is this one. And it is about the metric system. And I've posted a number of things about the metric system, including this PowerPoint. So let me go over to the slideshow and we'll go to the beginning. And I mean, I know today is the very first day of class and we really have to try and make some progress through some of this material, but I'm also going to tell you that I'm not probably going to go until exactly 5:35 today. I'm going to, go through some of this material, and then I will ask you to take a look at the metric system lab so that you can ask me questions about it tomorrow, work through it if you want. And we'll probably finish up this metric system PowerPoint tomorrow before we work on the metric system lab and then talk about scientific method and work on that. I said this earlier today, and just a non sequitur, of course, is that tomorrow I need to end class at 3:45. And that's just because I have to go to this doctor's appointment that was made a long time ago. And I, however, am not going to free you to go to the doctor's appointment with me. No, I am going to ask you to use that class time to make progress on the metric system lab, just exactly the way I would do it if we were in class, where I would turn everybody loose on a metric measuring lab, and I would sort of stroll around and answer questions and do that kind of stuff, but I won't be answering any questions tomorrow. So, I've been a long time since I've taken any French, though I did study French for a while. The Système International d'Unités, it's abbreviated as the SI for Système International, or the metric system. This is my opinion, but I think it's a pretty good, strong opinion, is the best system, and it is always used in the allied health sciences. This PowerPoint is about the metric system and metric measurement. Now, I'm going to remind you that we need to focus on the metric system because the nursing program has told us we need to focus on the metric system. Oh, I am a big believer in the metric system. I was really lucky when I was in my 6th grade science teacher's class. That guy absolutely insisted that we learn the metric system, the basic metric system. This was a long time ago when I was in 6th grade. It was probably around 1967. And the U.S. was absolutely the king country of sciences then. And my 6th grade science teacher, he thought that any day, the entire the U.S. would convert entirely to the metric system. I don't think that Dr. Lutz, my sixth grade science teacher, is still alive now, but I know he would be deeply saddened by the information about what the U.S. actually did. And honestly, I mean, for what it's worth, and this seems crazy, there's only 3 nations in the entire world that haven't officially adopted the metric system as their primary or sole system of measurement: Burma, Liberia, and the United States. That's us. I'm kind of embarrassed about it. But the bottom line is that that doesn't change the idea that we are sort of stuck with 2 different measurement systems: the measurement system that's called the English or imperial system, and the metric system. Now, I suppose if you are a poet for a living, you probably don't need to even think about the metric system. But for most people in this class, I mean, 9 people out of 10, they don't really have any choice. They kind of have to know the metric system because it is part of their work. And like I said before, look, if you don't understand the metric system pretty well, then in your workplace, in a clinical setting, in nursing training, people are gonna think you're stupid. I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but they're gonna think you don't know the metric system. Oh my gosh, you are a disaster waiting to happen, because metric system mistakes can be horrible. But the US did think about it. In fact, the metric system was adopted as the U.S. preferred measurement system in 1975. So why isn't it the preferred measurement system now? Because President Ronald Reagan didn't like the metric system and he reversed that in 1982. I suppose if there's a popular legacy of this, it's the 2-liter soda bottle, right? I mean, long before people saw 1-liter bottles, they saw 2-liter bottles. But now, if you look at bottles, you're going to find that most drink bottles are now labeled in both English and metric units. And, you know, that reminds me of something I did not mention before, and I need to mention it. I'm just going to make myself a note here, because before we're done here today, whatever time that is, I got to mention some things that I need you to get. Okay. So nowadays, most bottles, you know, most water bottles that we use, whether it's that expensive Fiji water or some, you know, Circle K water, whatever, if you look at the label, you will discover it is labeled in both English and metric units. And the English system, or the imperial system, is the system that we use mostly in the United States. And I have to tell you, it's not a very good system. It's confusing. It doesn't make any kind of logical sense. The numbers in the English system are just plain crazy. I mean, you know, we use numbers like 5,280 feet per mile. Where did they get that? Or even things like an inch. An inch, the original definition from an inch, the first published definition of an inch was an inch is the length of 3 barley corns placed end to end. 3 barley corns. Now, what does that mean? Is it a good year for barley or a bad year for barley? I mean, are they long barley corns or short barley corns? I mean, when you look at the English system, you see a lot of confusing units. Now, that doesn't mean we don't use it, because we do. I mean, I read recipes and I have to use ounces and cups and quarts and gallons and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely think that the English system is outdated and difficult to use, unlike the metric system. Scientists, medicine, and engineers in this country always use the metric system. It standardizes a system. I think it's an easier system to understand. It's certainly an easier system to manipulate mathematically because we don't have to ask a question like, how many ounces in a gallon? And then you have to go, okay, let's think about this for a minute. There's 8 ounces in a cup, and there's 4 cups in a quart, and there's 4 quarts in a gallon. So it's going to be 8 times 4 is 32 times 4 is 128. I mean, these numbers, they're just confusing. And if you really had to do any math with those numbers, you would be especially disappointed. I mean, you ask a question like, how many inches in a mile? And you have to think, okay, there's 5,280 feet in a mile times 12 inches per foot. And that's not math I can personally do right in my head. The metric system, on the other hand, is kind of a natural system. It's based on certain natural properties. But, one of the things that I think is the most interesting about the metric system is that, to a very large degree, when they created the metric system, they sat down at a big scientific meeting. One of the most famous ones was in 1790 in Paris, France. And a number of the most famous scientists, engineers, philosophers came to this meeting, and they said, look, we need to create a standardized measurement system that makes sense. And so at that meeting, they made some decisions. Like first thing they decided on was a meter. The meter is what we use to measure length in the metric system. And it was originally based on the circumference of the Earth. At that time, they thought that 1 meter was 1/10,000,000th of the Earth's quadrant passing through Paris. So basically, this line from here to the equator, 1/10,000,000th of that is what they thought was a meter. They were wrong. They were off a little bit. But once they'd made meters, once they decided the length of the meter and they ordered a bunch of meter sticks and they started using the meter, they said, that's going to be the meter from now on. They formalized that, even though it was not exactly 1/10,000,000th of the Earth quadrant passing through Paris. Now, then they created a volume unit called the liter. This is the standard unit for volume measurement. And even though it never ended up in the literature about this, it was generally thought that this liter was based on the volume of a bottle of wine. Why? Well, because at that Paris conference in 1790, you didn't drink the water in Paris then. Everybody drank wine or watered down wine. And somebody, it is supposed, somebody said, look, why don't we just make the liter approximately this volume, about the volume of a bottle of wine? That's a useful value that people can identify with. Then they defined both the kilogram and a gram as based on the weight of water. Like a gram is defined, the definition of a gram is that it is the weight of 1 milliliter or 1 cubic centimeter of liquid water. Right, and we're going to come back to these details for sure. Liquid water, not solid water. Ice weighs less than 1 gram per mil. Steam weighs much less than 1 gram per mil. Now, the system that's originally associated with the metric system was for measuring is the Kelvin system. And as interesting as the Kelvin system is, it's based on like it's based also on some natural things like the value of absolute zero. To the largest degree, that has been replaced by what's called the Celsius or centigrade temperature scale in combination with the metric system. I've never ever worked in a lab where they used Kelvin as the way they measured temperature. They've used Celsius or centigrade degrees. Now, Celsius was an astronomer who first proposed this idea. And so sometimes it's called the Celsius system. But it is equally often referred to as the centigrade system. And you'll see in a few minutes that the word centi is a metric prefix that means 1/100th. And what is it 1/100th of? It's 1/100th of the distance between 0, which is the freezing point of water in the centigrade system, and 100 degrees, which is the boiling point of water in the centigrade system. So you start at 0, which is where water freezes, something we can observe, count, measure, weigh here on the Earth, and 100 degrees, the boiling point of water, which can certainly be observed under the right conditions. And you divide that scale in 100 individual degrees, 1/100th of the scale. That's what the centi means, 1/100th of. And you come up with that. Again, you know, water is one of the 5 major biomolecules. And it is a super important molecule for living things. It's a super important molecule on the planet Earth. And to me, it just seems so elegant that they built the centigrade temperature scale based on observable, measurable properties of water. Okay? All right. So, of course, if anybody has a question, jump on in, right? But the metric system has 3 essential properties that make it the best system, okay? I will say again that one of the bad things about the English system is that it was kind of all cobbled together over centuries. Pieces of it came together over long periods of time. There was no organized attempt to create the English or imperial system. It just was cobbled together over time. In the English or imperial system, we think, okay, we're going to measure weight, we're going to measure it in ounces, pounds, tons, stone. We're going to measure volume in ounces. Well, there's a confusing thing already. In ounces, in cups, in quarts, in gallons. We're going to measure weight. We're going to measure length in 30 seconds of an inch, or inches, or feet, or meters, or in yards, or in miles. All these different numbers, like there's 30 seconds of an inch in an inch. There's 12 inches in a foot. There's 3 feet in a yard. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. Oh my gosh, these numbers, I'm glad I don't have to do any math with them. Well, the metric system was designed, a lot of it starting in 1790, with 3 essential properties. 1, it is based on powers of 10. That is super important. I mean, that's one of the first things they said is, look, we need to base this on powers of 10 so that we're using tens as the sort of common number in the metric system. And that's nice because no matter what you're measuring, you're going to be using tens. And you're going to see this, right? You're going to be using tens. The math of using tens is so much easier than the math of using 12s or 20 or 8s or 3s or 30 seconds or almost any other number, because the minute that you have to use numbers like that, you have to break out a calculator, and that calculator is going to absolutely make things more complicated. I'm going to show you a system where we can just jump the decimal point to the left or to the right. It virtually requires no math. It's just knowing what you're looking for and moving the decimal point to the left or to the right. Moving a decimal point is only possible because it's based on powers of 10. They decided there were 3 standard central units, which I've mentioned before. If you want to measure length, you're going to use the meter or some fraction or multiplication of meters. If you're going to measure volume, you're going to use the liter or some multiplication or division of liters. If you're going to measure weight or mass, you're going to use grams or some multiplication or division of grams. Now, I've used weight/mass here. In chemistry, they make a huge deal about this. The bottom line is that your weight is related to the interaction between your mass, meaning the actual atoms you're made of, and gravity. Mass is really atoms, and we are, like all matter, built of atoms. In biology, I have to say we use weight and mass almost interchangeably. I mean, I guess if we're going to do the astrophysics of biology or space flight or something like that, we might have to worry about this. But since most of the biology that we're doing, all of the biology that we're doing is right here on the planet Earth, and we have gravity, then we use weight and mass almost synonymously, okay? Again, in chemistry, when you go and take a chemistry class, oh, they're going to tell you, oh my gosh. And, you know, by the way back in the syllabus, it did say that there was this recommendation that you take Chem 130 before you take Bio 156, and that's required that I put that in the syllabus. But let me tell you, I'm going to teach you chemistry, and I'll teach you the very basic chemistry you need to know to understand the very basic biology that you need to know. Okay. The metric system has 3 essential properties. It's based on powers of 10. It has standard central units, and it has a set of standard prefixes. A prefix literally means before the word. It's something you will stick in front of meters, liters, or grams. Like this one here, milli, this means 1,000th of. So you could have a millimeter, you could have a milliliter, you could have a milligram. A millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. It's about the thickness of your a thickness of one of your nails on your fingers. A milliliter is 1,000th of a liter. And again, when you look at your soda bottle or soda can, like there's a can of soda that I have right here, and if I look at it carefully, it says 355 ml, which stands for milliliters. There's 355 milliliters in that can of 12-ounce can of soda. And then you could, of course, have milligram, which refers to weight. Millimeter is a unit of length. Milliliter is a unit of volume, and milligram is a unit of weight. And then there are other prefixes, giga, kilo, and many more. Oh, don't stress, you're going to learn these other ones too. So take a look at this document. I want to show you where meters, liters, and grams are. Here's meters, liters, and grams right here. They're at the 1. This is 1 meter, 1 liter, or 1 gram. Now, what happened to my cursor? 1 meter, 1 liter, 1 gram. Now, if you want to multiply meters, liters, or grams, you will multiply them by, look, powers of 10. 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 1,000,000 meters, 1,000,000,000 meters, 1,000,000,000,000 meters. There's lots of other ones here. But the range in which I want people to know units is between T and P. This is our range, T and P. So 10 meters, it is called, if you have a unit of 10 meters, it is called a decameter, and it is abbreviated as lowercase d, lowercase a. Decameter, decaliter, decagram. You would write it D-A-G for decagram, D-A-M for decameter, D-A-L for decaliter. Okay? If it's 100, it's 100. That prefix is hecto. It's abbreviated as lowercase h. Hectometer, hectoliter, hectogram. A hectogram is 100 grams. Lowercase k stands for kilo. This is one of the ones most people have heard of. Kilo means times 1,000. So a kilometer or kilometer is 1,000 meters. A kilogram, and everybody's read in the newspaper about somebody who has too many kilograms of something they're not supposed to have, right? Kilogram is 1,000 grams. Now, there's actually a little gap here that doesn't have a prefix for it, because where we're going to go next is to mega, which is abbreviated always as capital M, and mega means 1 million. So it's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, we get up to 1 million. See, we've added 3 zeros here. If you add 3 zeros, you're multiplying it by 3 powers of 10. And the abbreviation for it is all capital N. Giga, capital G, 1 billion. Tera, capital T, 1 trillion. Now, there's 3 decimal places in between. Here, between these, there's just 1 decimal place. Here, notice 1 million plus 3, 1 billion plus 3, 1 trillion. And let's not worry about peta, exa, zeta, and yada. Those are just gigantic units that we generally don't use, okay? A terameter is 1 trillion meters. You know, I remember the very first day I was in Costco, I think it was, and I saw a 1 terabyte hard drive, and I thought, terabyte? My gosh, that's huge. I'd never seen it before. I thought, how could you possibly ever need a 1 terabyte hard drive? Well, that does remind me that things like kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, and terabytes, these are incorporated into computer language, which is a scientific language too. But it does turn out that nowadays, if you store movies and games and things like that, you can fill up a terabyte. It's not that difficult to fill up a terabyte. It's big. Pretty big, but not too big. I mean, now come with computers that have a 1 terabyte hard drive or 1 terabyte RAM or 20 terabyte hard drive or something. Okay. Let's go the other direction. We're going to start with 1 again. Here we are back at meters, liters, and grams. What if you have not a whole, but 1/10? That's 0.1. That is deci. Deci means 1/10, and it's abbreviated as lowercase d. Decigram, deciliter, decimeter. Centi is one of the easiest ones to remember. Centi means 1/100th, like a penny is a $centi. It's 1/100th of a dollar. Centi means 1/100th, abbreviated as lowercase c. So centimeters, centiliters, centigrams. Milli, we've talked about this one a little. Milli means times 1,000th, thousandth, and it is lowercase m. You know, these abbreviations are very strict. Capital M means mega, which means times 1 million. Lowercase m means milli, which means times 1,000th. Now, micro, and look at this. This is the Greek letter mu, sort of like a U with a long line on the left side. Micro is 1 millionth, right? Micrometer, microliter, microgram. Nano, 1 billionth. I don't know, nano just always strikes me. It's almost synonymous these days with little teeny tiny nanobots. But you know, I forgot to say this about micro. When we measure things under the microscope, we measure them in micrometers. A typical bacterium, E. coli, for example, is about 1 micrometer long. Nano is 1 billionth. And pico, the last one I want you to worry about, is 1 trillionth. So we're going all the way from 1 trillionth down to 1 trillion times. 1 trillion times down to 1 trillionth times. And then the other ones up here, femto, atto, zepto, locto, I think those are all named after the Marx brothers, or some of the Marx brothers. I don't know. Anyway, we won't really deal with those. Though I will tell you, interesting, a yoctogram is, oh, sorry, I got that wrong. I got it backwards. A yotogram, take a look at this. It's 1 septillion of something, but here's the bottom line. A yotogram is the weight of the water in the Pacific Ocean. That's a lot of water. So yada, pretty big. Yocto, pretty small. Yocto is what they actually use to measure the weight of protons and neutrons in an atom. So, you know, I kind of want to, I'm going to bump through this for a minute. I apologize. I'm going to bump through this for a minute. I'm going to come back to this, but I want to go to metric prefixes again. I probably could have arranged this a little bit better, and I probably will. Well, we'll work on it the way it is. But here's metric prefixes again, multiplications, trillion, billion, million, thousand, hundred, 10. And then divisions, tenth, hundredth, thousand, millionth, billion, trillionth. And, you know, I have to tell you this, you should thank me for this. But here's the bottom line. You need to memorize these metric prefixes and this basic information. The multiplications and the divisions. You need to know that capital T stands for tera, means times 1 trillion. A teragram is 1 trillion grams. A terabyte is 1 trillion bytes. That's a lot of food. A terameter, did I say that one already? Is 1 trillion meters. These 2 pages here, the divisions and the multiplications, those are things you need to memorize. Now, before we go to this metric conversion stuff, which I'm not going to go to today because I got to figure out something I did not realize until today, and I apologize. But I didn't realize that when I showed things, they would be backwards. I'm going to figure out a way to make them not backwards because there is a way to do it. I just need to figure it out. Okay. Okay. So I will figure that out. I'll figure out a way to present that material to you. But we're going to stop right here today. I wish I could remember what slide this was. It is slide number 11, though we also need to talk about those metric factoids. So tomorrow we will start on slide 11. Okay. And I'm going to make myself a note here because I'm telling you, sometimes there's just too much stuff in my brain. Up here, slide 6 and slide 7 are essential. And we will come back to slide 6 and slide 7. These should have been rearranged in this PowerPoint a little bit. Okay. So I want to answer any questions that anybody has about the material that we've presented so far. Like, honestly, this very basic metric system stuff. I'm telling you, this slide right here is one of the most important slides I showed you. It's why the metric system is so much better than the English system. All right? Part of it based on these prefixes, right? Which we went through these prefixes, and then you're going to jump over slide 6 and 7 and look at all this metric prefix stuff, okay? But here's the thing. I am going to reduce this. I'm back, and you're going to ask me any questions that you might have. So when is the metric system lab officially due? You know, I'm not sure. I think we will sort of officially start on the metric system lab tomorrow at 3:45. I'm going to say, look, now's your time in class to work on this lab. Okay. And I will let you work on it. And then on Monday, we'll come back and we'll discuss what work we've done and see and sort of assess where people are. Because I don't want to make it I don't want people to go crazy trying to get it done in an unrealistic amount of time, because you know what? I don't know exactly how long it's going to take to do. When I did it, it took me a couple of hours to do, but I kind of inherited it and I did my best on it. But it might take longer than that. And when it comes down to submitting that, it does ask you right on the lab to take some pictures of things like screenshots or whatever, and then email those to me. So tomorrow we will talk in great detail about the lab, and we'll look at the lab, and I'll set you to work on the lab while I go to that doctor's appointment, and then we will then I'll let people work on it over the weekend, and on Monday we'll assess whether we should get it turned in, whether enough people were able to complete it that it would be good to say make it due on Tuesday. I just have to be flexible about that, because these labs are kind of new, and I don't have much experience with knowing how long it will take or what exact problems will appear. But thank you so much for asking that question. Okay. All right, so let's look at, I want to jump, well, I made myself a note up here to tell you a couple of things that we need to get, okay? And so I think I'm going to go back to, I wrote this wonderful email that you got a couple days ago, okay? And that wonderful email, I wrote it out nice and neat. And this is the way I usually write emails. I'm always worried an email system is going to crash on me. And as a result, I am going to lose everything that I have written. Okay. So I want to show you, if I can find it here. I want to show you what this email looked like when I first wrote it, because when I was finally able to post it, I mean, it gave me all kinds of problems posting it, and I'm not really sure why. But eventually I got it to post by using plain text, and it looked awful. I was embarrassed about it, okay? But here's the original email where it says, here's a list of items you will need for the home labs we will do. Now, this isn't all of them, but this is a start. It says, try to get these items as soon as possible. Maybe you already have some of them in your house already. Like, I got all of these items for what it's worth at the Dollar Tree pretty cheap. Now, look, if you decide you're going to go to the Dollar Tree to get these items, I hope you will do the right thing now, which is wear a mask, because we know, thanks to science, that wearing masks is a smart thing to do. And you will do social distancing and all that kind of stuff. But some of this stuff you may already have in your house. So here's a beginning list that's going to take us through the first week, at least week and a half of class. I'd like it if you could get a ruler that has metric units on it. Most rulers do. Now, I know this is going to be backwards, huh? Bummer. Yep, I see what you mean. It is backwards. How can I do that? Anyway, this is a ruler I got at the Dollar Tree. This side. Hey, Steve, I'm backwards too. This side is metric, right? Metric. This side is the evil English system. So we could just try to rip that off. Oh, look at that. I've always wanted to do this. Look, here's the evil English system gone. Oh, wonderful. Now all there is on this is the wonderful and glorious metric system, okay? But I need you to get a ruler like this. Now, you probably have one at home already. And hopefully it isn't backwards like this one. Figure this whole backwards thing out, okay? I need you to get a ruler like that. I got these at the Dollar Tree, and I never realized how nice it would be. I could just pull the English system off and throw it away. A second is a measuring cup that's labeled in metric units and milliliters. Now, honestly, you probably already have this in your house because most kitchen cup measurers have both cups and ounces. They have cups and ounces on one side and metric milliliters on the other side. Okay. Next is a 1 liter bottle. And really, I just want you to have a 1 liter bottle so you can fill it up and you can feel it and you can try and identify with what 1 liter is. Okay. And honestly, any type will do. Don't need to buy that expensive smart water or whatever. You just use some dumb water, just plain old water in a 1 liter bottle. So you look for that. This may be one of the harder ones to get, some Alka-Seltzer tablets. And that's just because it's going to be really upsetting to you with all the stuff. I'm only kidding. That's because we are going to do an experiment at home with Alka-Seltzer. And really, I apologize because you have to go buy a whole thing of Alka-Seltzer, and we'll probably only use 3 tablets out of it, but I'm just not in a position to, I wish they would sell it in small units, though. You know what? They actually do sell it in small units. I've been in places like Quick Mart or the Circle K, where they will sell you 1 packet or 2 packets of Alka-Seltzer. Now, they may charge you as much as you would pay in Walmart for a box of Alka-Seltzer, but that's certainly a possibility. Think about that. And then another thing on the list is this. I need you to get some soft candies that we can use to build molecules, okay? 50 cents for 1 packet. Thank you, Elizabeth. Look at that. 1 packet for 50 cents. Very nice. Again, under these circumstances, I don't know. I guess you could call Whole Foods and say, listen, I need a pack of Alka-Seltzer and please deliver it. But anyway, I need you to get some soft candies that we can use to build molecules. Now, look, I got all of these either at the grocery store or the Dollar Tree. These are those little baby marshmallows, the little tiny ones. These are great because they're multiple colors. Now, I don't know if you can get multiple colors at the Dollar Tree, but you can get white, which would be fine because you can write on them. Then I got gummy bears, and actually we're going to use gummy bears in this lab and in the use them in this lab, and we're going to use them in another lab that we're going to do. This was $1 for all these gummy bears. There's plenty in here to snack on them and build molecules. And then, just so happened right there, I was able to get these spicy gumdrops. And there's all these different colors, but all of these are soft candies. And I'll tell you, as crazy as it sounds, the lab that we have about this asks you to build molecules using these soft candies and using toothpicks as covalent bonds. And you know what? It's going to be fun. It's going to work. And it's maybe not as good as the little lab kits where did I go there? Little lab kits that we have in the classroom, but it will work fine. And then when we're done, well, I was about to say when we're done, you can eat your work, but I don't know, after I've been like fondling these things for a little while, probably the cats have licked them or something. I'm not going to probably want to eat them. But you could stick them up on the shelf and they will harden into rocks and you'll have these molecules built of soft candies. And then the last thing on the list, of course, is toothpicks. Any kind will do. And I think 50 should be plenty. Again, most of this stuff, I think almost everything that's here, maybe even the Alka-Seltzer, is available at the Dollar Tree. And that could mean you just have to do 1 trip, cover your body with a plastic bag, just holes here to look out, and then go to the Dollar Tree and see if you can find these things. And listen, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $6 plus tax. That's not bad. Remember, I saved you $148 by not using the book. Okay, and I don't own stock in the Dollar Tree for what it's worth, just so you know. But I just think that's one place you could get most of the stuff. Now, if you do trips to grocery stores, you can find that stuff there too. You probably noticed that some of my stuff, like the spice drops, I got those at Safeway, and they were 10 for $1, so they were pretty inexpensive. And these are things we absolutely will use that will form part of the labs for this class. You know, I guess the alternative would be to ask you to order molecular model kits online, and those would be very expensive, and you would use them for a very short period of time, and then you would stick them on a shelf and never use them again. At least with these candies, whatever isn't been heavily fondled, you could probably eat it, right? And what has been heavily fondled, you can just throw it away and you won't really feel that bad about it, okay? Okay. So that list is one thing I want. Any questions about that list? Hey, and thank you for telling us that you can get Alka-Seltzer at Whole Foods, right? Go back and look at it. Whole Foods, 50 cents. What a deal. Right, and unfortunately, I think at Whole Foods, you're not going to find some gumdrop. Oh, you might find some sugar-free gummy bears, but probably going to be more expensive than they would be at the Dollar Tree. And remind you, I don't have stock in the Dollar Tree, so not anything like that. Okay. And then, what was the last thing I wanted to mention? List? No, I mentioned the list. Everybody sees the list. Sorry, it looks so bad on that email. Believe me, that's what it looked like. Over here, this is what it looked like when I pasted it in, and then it messed it up for me. Okay? All right. Okay. You know what? I'm about done. Does anybody have any questions on anything? Aside from, Steve, how could you talk for 4 hours like that? Believe me, it's not that hard for me. But tomorrow, like I said, we're gonna make. I'm gonna be working on trying to figure out this whole stupid mirror image thing, because maybe there is a way to not be a mirror image of myself. And but otherwise, I have another possibility. I'm thinking of another possibility that will make me that will allow me to you know, to do some of the things I need to do. Anyway, I'm gonna do that. All right.
The weird thing is, Travis.
Yes.
The weird thing. I'm looking at the presented screen, and I have a little small one off to the right of just your standard thing. Standard one, the small one off to my right side, is not mirrored.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know
so
why.
Mean there's one here. Hold on. I'm gonna now look. If for some reason we crash because of this, then we're done, right? But I'm gonna try this. Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
That blew my mind. Sorry. There's an infinite number of Steves there. That is horrifying. Wow. All right, so here's the one I was using. Right? And so I wish I could see what you were seeing where you said there was a screen off to the side that wasn't mirrored.
Yeah, I have a list of everybody in the call. I think everyone else probably should too if it's set up like I do. And yeah, the one you're not mirrored up there, but the presentation screen is, and so I don't know why that would be.
So I was reading, I just looked it up. So I think that if you're showing us, okay, it's gonna be a little. So if you're showing us the document through your screen that you see while you're presenting,
right,
it's gonna go backwards. But if you hold it up and we look at your webcam picture instead of your presentation, it should be not mirrored, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm going to work on this. I mean, believe me, there are potentially ways to get around this that I've already thought about. Like, it's all because, believe it or not, I'm such a dinosaur that in a normal classroom I use an overhead projector a lot. I can't use here, but when you have an overhead projector, you write and then you turn it over, and now it's a mirror image of itself. And so I could potentially write on a clear plastic thing and then turn it over, and it would be a mirror image, but you would see it non-mirror image. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and be creative and see if there isn't a way. I mean, it may be that there's settings that there may be settings that allow me to reverse it. It's possible. I'm going to work on that. But anyway, people, I'm so happy to meet all of you. I'm looking forward to reading your student information sheets. And as I said, the easiest way to do it probably is to print that document out, fill it in, take a picture with your phone, and send it to my email at smacky@pima.edu. The exact opposite of this, right?
Oh,
And
wait, that looked normal. Which one am I clicking on though? So yeah, so if I'm looking at your regular, so you're not presentation. Like if I'm looking at just you and your regular webcam, it's right side.
Yeah, it's normal.
Okay, well, so let's do this. Let me see if I can.
Hey, Steven.
Stop presenting.
Hey, Steven.
Yes.
I just turned in the document through D2L. Is that okay, or do you prefer the email?
No, absolutely. If you can turn it into D2L, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
So this still does look back. This still is backwards, right?
It's backwards in presenting mode, yeah, but in non-presenting,
it looks fine normally.
It looks fine now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're not, you're not like showing yourself through presenting.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And if
Google
people want
Meet is
to make it
broken in
a screen, they can just pin it and it will be normal screen.
So now I'm presenting, does it?
So
yep.
It's backwards now.
Yeah.
That is crazy. All right,
if
well,
they continue, it'll be normal.
yeah. Well, okay. Now, see, it looks backwards to me. When I'm seeing myself, it looks completely backwards.
yeah, if it looks backwards, then it looks forward for us. I know, it's awful.
Well, I'm gonna, believe me, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I mean, I didn't, it's funny, when I did this in the spring, I would use it to draw things, like okay, it looks fine, right? Because it doesn't make any difference if it's backwards. But so I was drawing stuff, which I like to do, but I never wrote something like this. Or if I did, nobody would tell me that it was backwards until today. So I guess you just have to live and learn this stuff, and I'm going to do my best. I mean, again, I am on the steep learning curve how to do this. There's certainly lots of biology that I'm super glad to share with you and help you be successful in your future biology classes. I'm just not that proficient at the whole virtual thing, but they asked me to teach this class, and I said I'll do it, and I will get better by the day. Thanks for your help. I really appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to say that we're done for now. All right, please, if you would, take a look at the metric system PowerPoint, scan through it so it's not completely brand new for you tomorrow. Take a look at the thought questions, take a look at the syllabus, and I will answer questions about that when we meet tomorrow at 1:15. All right?
Do you also want with the gummy bears and the whole stuff that we're supposed to get? Do you want that by tomorrow, or
No, thanks for asking. We don't need it by tomorrow. I mean, the sooner we get that metric ruler, that would be great, but there's metric rulers built into the lab, and there's metric rulers built into the PowerPoint. So I really would like it if you eventually had a metric ruler so that I could ask you to measure something and we could chat about it. You know what I mean? But you got to first start out by, trying to acquire that stuff as quickly as possible. Okay? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Great first class. See you tomorrow at 1:15. Adios.
Thank you.